Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has ghost-type Pokemon. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by DJLStorme, link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Prologue I. Konohagakure no Sato, Elemental Nations. Naruto Uzumaki was a 12-year-old child from the Elemental Nations in Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves. A child with blonde hair and blue eyes, 3 whisker marks on his face, sat quietly on one of the swings in the park, lost in his thoughts. His sudden jerks towards the Hokage monument were enough to put off the regular population of the village. In the shadows, the Anbu watched the child with interest, knowing that something was wrong. This child was feeling very agitated. It was like a storm was coming, a natural calamity, something that could never be forgotten. A part of him, a voice in the head, was telling him to pack his bags and move far away from this place, but it was dwarfed by 2 other voices who were telling him not to listen to the furball. After which, his head would be filled by a huge amount of obscenity. "Oi boss." A childish voice spoke up that made Naruto jump from the swing he was sitting on and turn to look and see 3 young children, no older than 6, looking at him in confusion. The 3 were Konohamaru, Uden Ice, and Mogi Kazamatsuri, better known as the Konohamaru Corps, and followers of Naruto Uzumaki. He had a chance at meeting with them because of one of his pranks, which caught both the old man Hokage and the closet pervert of a teacher that the Konohamaru had. "What happened, boss? You look scared back there?" the kid asked in genuine confusion. Naruto, not wanting to look like an idiot in front of the kids, gave a loud laugh. "Me? Scared? No way." Naruto spoke up in false bravado, which was unlike him. "I, the most awesome shinobi in training and the upcoming Hokage, scared? No, it's not possible." He shook his head in negative. But as he was shaking, another voice spoke up. "Ah, Naruto, not scared." A definitely feminine voice started as Naruto turned to look at the face of one Ino Yamanaka, along with Hinata Hyuga, and someone who looks just like her but shorter and younger, maybe the same age as Konohamaru, and others entered the park. "Yeah right. As if." Ino said in a teasing manner while looking at the blonde in a teasing manner. Ino, don't tease and Naruto like that," Hinata said from her place while stuttering as the young girl just like her face palmed at the inability of the girl's speaking style well around her crush. "Naruto is one of the bravest persons I know." "Yeah, tell her, Hinata." Naruto said from where he was standing, leading for the girl to go red in the face and began twiddling with her fingers. "Oh really?" Ino started as she looked at her fellow blonde and the blue-haired girl. "Then why don't you come with me to the abandoned building on the other side? You know, the same one where the ghosts are said to live." And Naruto lost all the color from his face when one thing came to be known. What?" Naruto shouted. "Yeah, I mean if you are so courageous, why don't you come with me to the haunted building to see all the ghosts," Ino said in a teasing manner. Before Naruto could shout any further, another voice spoke up from behind them. "What are you saying, Ino pig?" Sakura Haruno, once the best friend of Ino turned rival for the affection of one Sasuke Uchiha, said. "Everybody knows that there is no such thing as ghosts." "Yeah right." Naruto quickly agreed, but then blinked when he noticed more people entering the place, which now had him, Konohamaru Corps, Sasuke, Sakura, Shikamaru, Ino, Old Man Tuchi and Am, Chimjai, Shino, Kiba, a girl with the same markings as Kiba, another girl with brown hair, then there were Tenten and Rock Lee, 2 friends that he made during the academy, with them there was another guy with same eyes as Hinata but acted like a douchebag. And the 2 Chunin that stand guard at the gates and the snake lady that caught him once. Naruto could never forget the face they made when he caught them in one of his pranks. He looked at the crowd, nobody else was joining them now. Sasuke and Shikamaru along with the douchebag locked eyes with each other. Each of them knows that something was amiss with this scenario. No sooner, a woman with a cat mask came out of the shadows and reached them. "Good evening," the Anbu said while looking at the group. Now, Naruto remembered why he was here. An hour ago, he found a letter at his table in the apartment which told him to come here as soon as he could. And as such, he followed the instructions of the letter. And now, there was all of these people were here. "Thank you for answering the Hokage's call," the lady in the cat mask said. "No thanks needed, lady. It was the Hokage's call. Nobody can ignore it," Naruto thought as he looked around. "Now, all of you, please follow me," the masked Nico said as she moved towards the building in the front with a group following her from behind. Naruto fell into step with the others. Once entering the building, the cat mask lady led them to a bookshelf that was there and pulled a book out halfway from the first shelf and pushed one back in the second shelf, which resulted in the shelf moving back and revealing a secret door. The lady in the cat mask was the first to enter the door, followed by the snake lady, Old Man Tuchi, the 2 Chunin, followed by Am, and then Naruto with the rest following behind them. After walking for a few minutes, they reached the end where was a huge room surrounded by the Hokage and a few more people. From the side, he noticed one more child with pale skin standing beside the old man with a lot of bandages. This was a serious matter. Everyone understood that. Okage-sama, everyone in the room bowed, except for 4 people in the room, which consisted of Naruto, Konohamaru, Yuden, and Mogi who hid behind the older one. "Hey, old man." Naruto and Konohamaru spoke up at the same time. Behind him, most of them gaped at the disrespect for them that Naruto and the kid showed to their village leader. "Are you two idiots?" Sakura snapped from behind them, punching the two in the head. "Sakura," Naruto whined from his place as he rubbed the spot where she struck. "What was that for?" he asks. "Yeah," Konohamaru whined. "Why did you hit me, you big forehead girl?" Sakura's eye twitched at that remark. Before she could dive in to kill him, Naruto and Ino decided to hold her back. Before things could escalate further, the Hokage spoke up. "You don't have to worry, Sakura." The aged Hokage spoke up. "I am used to their antics and it would be best if you wouldn't harm my grandson right now." At this, Sakura's and the rest of the children's eyes widened. "DGGR grandson?" Sakura and Ino asked. "Yes," the Hokage said. Sakura and Ino turned to look at the kid who was smirking at them. The pink-haired girl was about to apologize to the Hokage, but the old man raised his hand, giving her the sign to stop. "We are not here to discuss that," Hiruzen said as he looked at the gathered people. "I summoned all of you here to tell you that you will be going somewhere and you will depart from here tonight." Wide eyes could be seen from the people that entered behind the Nico masked lady. "You will be departing in a group as such." The third Hokage started to explain. Sasuke Uchiha, along with Sakura Haruno and Sai here, Naruto saw the guy that was behind the group came in the front. "We'll be leaving alongside Tenzo Yamato and Kakashi Haddock." A brown-haired Jounin came from the back and stood in front of the three. "Apart from Sasuke, you two will leave to pack immediately and should reach the front gate in exactly 3 hours. Pack as much as you can. Except for the seals, you can pack anything, understood?" Sakura and Sai nodded as they were led outside by one of the masked Anbu. "Gucci and Aya Michiraku, along with Aburam Shino, you will be leaving with Katetsu Hagain and Izumo Kamizuki." Again the 5 nodded their head. But before they could leave, they were stopped by the Hokage. "And Tucci, here is something else for you. I was told that you would know what to use it for." Tucci saw a red and black scroll that the Hokage brought out and gave it to him. Once he saw the scroll, his eyes widened and then he bowed to the Hokage. He, then, hurriedly went outside followed by Am, Shino, Katetsu, and Izumo. "Diba Inyazuka and Hana Inyazuka, you, alongside your clan head, will reach the gate within the same time as earlier. You are to pack any necessities that you may require," the Hokage said, and the two were quickly shooed away by the masked Anbu. "Konohamaru Sarutobi, Udinais and Mogi Kazamitsuri and Yakumo Kurama, you are to pack your necessities, you will go with Jounin Asuma Sarutobi and Yuga Yuzuki." Hiruzen said, and a man smoking a cigarette and the cat Anbu from before removed her mask to show a female with purple hair looking at them. Before the youngest Sarutobi could ask anything, he was quickly taken by his uncle to pack their bags. Hiruzen then turned to look at the others left. "Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Shinji Akimichi, your parents have already been informed. You will be going with Jonin Inoka Yamanaka alongside Akane Akimichi and Yoshino Nara, as both of them will act as extra help during the journey." Shikamaru looked at the aged Hokage intensely, as before he was led outside by the shinobi in there. "Now, Niji Haika, Hanabi Haika, and Hinata Haika," the Hokage spoke up as he turned to look at the 3 Haika. "Just like the other clans, your clan has also been informed. You will also pack your necessities and will leave this place alongside Kurenai Yuuhi and Genma Shiranai." The Hokage said, and they nodded their head as the Haika kids were then sent away. "Now Tenten, Rock Lee and Naruto Uzumaki," Hokage looked at the 3 of them. "The 3 of you are allowed to take any necessities required, except for the exploding seals. Any of the sealing scrolls you can take, but not things such as that, understood? You will be with Mido Gai and Anko Mitarashi." At this, the 2 newly minted genin turned to look at the said Jonin, who had a very serious look on his face. "Tenten and Rock Lee may leave. Naruto Uzumaki and Anko Mitarashi stay here as I need to discuss something with you two first." With that, the 2 genin were ushered out of the room, leaving only the Hokage, the old man with bandages, and a few more jonin. There was silence in the room as nobody spoke for a moment before it was broken by the village pariah. "So is there a reason as to why he was promptly cut off by the aged Hokage himself?" "We don't have much time, Naruto," Hiruzen stated as he looked at the teen in the face, making him take a step back in surprise. "You know Naruto, Sasuke, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and as the Hokage, I took decisions that I sometimes wish I never had to, but for the sake of the village, I had to make these decisions. And as the Hokage, I have to live with those decisions." "Whoa, old man. Where is all that coming from?" Naruto asks his surrogate grandfather. You know, I used to hope that my decisions will lead to a better life in the village, but," the Hokage turned to look at Anko, Sasuke, and Naruto in the eyes, their eyes widening at what he was admitting. "You three are a live example that I failed not just as the leader of this village, but as a person too." He then closed his eyes as he leaned back in the chair. "You know how much I wish that I could provide the three of you a better life. And in this trip, this journey that I am sending you on, I hope could help you with it." "Hokage-sama?" Anko stepped forward to ask. "What is happening? Is there a war coming? If so, let me." "There is no need for that, Anko," Hiruzen said while waving his hand. He brought out 2 scrolls that he handed to Sasuke and Naruto. "I want both of you to open these scrolls after you board the ship." Again the three looked at the cage in shock. "Anko, Yamato, I want you to make sure that these two don't open the scrolls, understood?" Both of the mentioned shinobi just nodded their heads. After that, he brought out 4 scrolls, one of them being a little bigger than the others. Seeing the big scroll, Anko's eyes widened. "Now Naruto, I want you to promise me," Hiruzen started as he looked at the young Uzumaki, "that you will open these scrolls after you board this ship and after you have opened my scroll first." Naruto looked at the aged Hokage in the eyes. "Old man," Naruto started but was interrupted again. "Promise me, Naruto," Hiruzen asserted, and Naruto nodded his head. "Good, let me tell you these scrolls are yours, and these are letters from your parents, their final words to you if you will." Naruto's eyes widened as he cautiously took the scroll from the aged Hokage. He was about to ask some questions, but the Hokage continued with his words. "And these are your birthright." He pointed to the 2 scrolls and laughed as he looked at the Uzumaki who had the expression of shock on his face. "You know you were supposed to get your mother's letter when you would make Genin, and your father's when you would make Chunin, but the circumstances have changed. You do remember Jiraiya, right?" Naruto nodded his head. "But you are going to meet him there, and he will inform you as to when you are to open your scroll." Hiruzen then looked at the side. "Now Anko, I want you to pack your necessities and then help Naruto pack as much as he could and keep these scrolls with him safe." Anko just nodded her head at the command but was confused when he brought out 2 more scrolls. "Also I want you to give these 2 scrolls to the Jiraiya and Tsunade of the Sannin and make sure that both of them meet Naruto before he reads the scroll, understood?" Now, this was more surprising, 2 of the Sannin would be there with him, what was going on? She took the scrolls from the cage and hid it on her person, making sure they were safe. "And you Yamato, Kakashi, I want you two to help Sasuke Uchiha in packing everything he could." The 2 nodded their heads and stood by the young Uchiha's side. "You all are now dismissed, remember, you are to leave in exactly 3 hours from now." But that, the shinobi shunshined out. That left only the Hokage and the man with the bandages. "Is it all done, Hiruzen?" The man asked the cage. "It is Danzo." The man, Danzo nodded his head and after a moment of silence just laughed. "What's so funny, Danzo?" Hiruzen asks his once rival. "Oh nothing, it's just," he looked at the aged cage. "Remembering our time, where the 2 of us tried everything to make this village safe, our rivalry, and other things that we did." "Oh, I remember," Hiruzen said with a laugh leading to silence. "Did you ever think of something like this happening, Danzo?" Danzo just shook his head. "No, I always thought that all of us are going to survive, well few of us considering our age, but against this, only few have a chance," Hiruzen told the old warhawk. "Do you know who else is doing this?" Danzo asks again. "I know for the fact that Iwagakure is sending the Jinchuriki of their village, the ones that had been out of the village for quite some time, along with Kuretsuchi and Kitsuchi and 3 more children." Hiruzen said and Danzo nodded his head at the statement. "As for Kumagakure, they are sending Killer Bee. The one that has rapping problems." "Yes, well with him being the Jinchuriki of 8 tails and Yujito Nai, her being of 2 tails. Apart from them, they are sending 5 other people," Hiruzen told the old warhawk. "From Kurigakure, we have Utakata the Jinchuriki of the 6 tails, along with the rebel leader, Mei Terumi, her bodyguards Ao and Chijuro, the new Jinchuriki of 3 tails, alongside 3 genin and 2 children." "What happened to the previous one?" Danzo asks with a raised eyebrow. "Iguro was struck with a Jinjutsu which led to him igniting the bloodline wars," Hiruzen said to the surprise of Danzo. "Possibly done by an Uchiha, but the upcoming storm which resulted in the tailed beast to answer to his instincts and break the Jinjutsu. After which, he agreed for the extraction of the 3 tails, as of now the 4th Mizukage is dead." "I see," Danzo said as he rubbed his cheek. "Now from Suna, we have the 3 children of Kazukiage, one of whom is the Jinchuriki of 1 tail, alongside Baki and Pukura and 3 more children from the village." The aged cage told his once rival. "Now from the minor villages and other nations, Tokigakure leader Shibuki is sending FK, the 7 tails Jinchuriki, and a child by the name of Isaribi. The current daimyo of Snow Country will go there himself without any sort of external help, but the lost princess alongside her aide will be coming with us." The Shinobi Alliance, apart from all of this, the demon country has also asked us to take the princess of the land with us. She is already here as we speak. The cage told the old Warhawk. Other villages had refused to listen to our warnings and took it as an elaborate plan that we are making. Jiraiya and Tsunade had stumbled upon one more Uzumaki on their way to the port and are taken under the wing of Tsunade. Danzo looked surprised at the last part. Another Uzumaki survived. He asked. She is the only Uzumaki that survived after the death of her parents. Danzo nodded his head at that point. We have yet to receive any words from Omegakure and Iron Country. Well, they have too much pride as of now. So we are all set? Danzo asks once again. Yes, Danzo, Hiruzen told his rival. We now can only pray that a part of this nation survives the upcoming storm. At Yamanaka residence. Ino was packing her belongings. She was packing enough for a 2-day trip, but with how her parents were behaving, the shootings, and the amount of luggage they had packed, it was all unnerving her. Do you think that we are doing the right thing? Ino heard her mother ask her father. I mean, I don't want to leave Ino. It was decision made by you three. Do you think it is a good idea to be left behind? Do you think I like this decision? Inoichi said while packing his essentials. They outvoted me, and now the Hokage has told me to prepare you as the two are helping their wives. The next gen of Ino Shikacho, how do you think I feel that I've to let the two of you go to a whole different place? He then sighed as he looked at his wife and saw the conflicted expression on her face. I just wish for this information to be wrong, so that I can come and get you back. I wish it too. Ino's mother said as they continued packing her things. Mom, Dad, Ino entered the room as she saw the state of the room of her parents. What is happening? Nothing, my dear, Inoichi said while looking at her daughter. Have you packed? Ino just nodded her head. Very well, bring down your luggage, we will leave for the gates in an hour. Akimichi residence. Jai and her mother were packing furiously, especially the food that was being packed by her mother for the two of them. Jai didn't know why, but for some reason, his mother and father had grave expressions on their faces. Jai, his father called out to him. Yes, Dad. The Akimichi heir went up to him. About this trip, let me tell you something, Choza Akimichi started. It is going to be a long strenuous one. It will be difficult for both you and your mother, but I want you to promise me something. Jai looked at his father with a steeled expression. Take care of your mother for me, will ya? No matter what happens, stay strong for her. Father. And remember that no matter what happens, Chowza gave his son a giant proud grin. I am very proud of you. Nara residence. The Nara residence, which was most of the time a house filled with sloths, was in disarray. The silence was grim and the father-son duo sat in front of each other. So Shikamaru started as he looked at his father. Any ideas as to why we are leaving the village for an indefinite amount of time? It is, as of right now, an S-class secret. You will learn of it once you board the vessel. The Nara's head told him seriously and Shikamaru just nodded his head. You are smart, Shikamaru. I know that you will find out about it. Shikamaru just looked at his father with narrowed eyes as his mother now stood behind him and his father moved to stand in front of him. Now before you go, I want you to listen to me carefully. I want you to be happy and make us proud. In the place where you are going, you will learn a lot of things there, but I want you to promise that you will not be angry, okay? As Shikamaru heard this, his confusion turned to concern. I want you to help your friends and help your mother, listen to everything she has to say, alright? Whoa, Dad, what's going on? Shikamaru asks him in concern, but all he got was a hug from behind by his mother. He was surprised, more so when his father joined in on the hug. Remember this too, Shika. His mother cooed from her place. We both love you very much and are very proud of you. His mother's voice trembled with each word, so he tightened the hug on his family, confused as to what was going on. Yoshino Nara on the other hand looked at her husband as to what would be the final time. And you lazy man. She said to her husband. Remember, I love you. I love you too. Shikaku Nara said as he closed his eyes in the embrace. Haruno residence. Sakura Haruno packed her bag in a proper diligent manner. As she packed her bags, her mother entered the room, helping her in her packing. She noticed that her mother had a grim expression. Mom, Sakura called out to her mother. Are you alright? Oh, Mabuki Haruno snapped out of her confusion and looked at the scene. Nothing, sweetheart, just remembering how a few years ago you were just a kid telling me that you are going to be a kunoichi. She then looked at her daughter with tears in the corner of her eyes. Now, here you are, already leaving to the outside world. Sakura blushed at the words which diminished when she was embraced by her mother. I am so proud of you. Her mother said and, if she was right, she heard trembling sobs with the words. I love you so much. Sakura returned the embrace with confusion in her face as her mother hugged her. Uchiha District. Sasuke hurriedly packed his bags. If this trip could help him to become strong and provide with enough strength to defeat him, he will not let it go to waste. He happily packed some of the techniques from his clan's archives and, as he was about to turn, he was stopped by a hand on his shoulder. He turned to look at the owner of the hand to show the same masked ninja with grey-white hair and his headband covering one of his eyes. "Sasuke, have you packed everything?" the man asks with an eye smile. "Yes," Sasuke grunted in affirmation. "I don't think so," the man said to him. "We are going away indefinitely, so I want you to pack only the Uchiha scrolls and artifacts in that scroll which has value, like the Uchiha techniques, or maybe a weapon of your family." Sasuke hearing it nodded his head and quickly went to get such things. No sooner than that, he came back with a giant rock slab, a katana, and few more scrolls. "These are the most important things in my family." Sasuke then looked at the side and picked up an album and put it on the ceiling scroll after thinking over it. "These are all the things I need." With that, he sealed the objects as Sasuke prepared a small backpack for the travel. "Very well," the one-eyed man said as he looked at the young Uchiha. "We will leave for the place in an hour. Anything else you would like to do?" "I would like to visit my mother's grave," Sasuke said, and the one-eyed man just nodded his head as he led the Uchiha to the grave. "I promise you," Sasuke thought while looking at his mother's grave. "I promise you that I will bring Itachi to justice, mother." In Yazuka residence. Kiba and Hana in Yazuka watched intently as their mother erratically packed the things. The whole clan looked like a horde of bulls just stampeded through the place. But what surprised her most was the Ninken, apart from those that were assigned. None were present. "Mom?" Hana called out to their mother. "What are you doing? More importantly, where are all the Ninken?" "They are safe." Well, as safe as they could be with their current situation, Tsume then took a deep breath and looked at her two children. "Listen, both of you, we don't have much time. I want you to pack your backpacks and seal anything that you believe to be important. We will leave in an hour. Prepare your backpack." The Inyazuka matriarch commanded. "You still haven't told me what is happening," Hana said. "We don't have time for that, now do as I say," Tsume commanded, and the younger of the two ran out of there preparing for the things that he needed. "What is happening, Mom?" Hana asked one more time. "Right now it is an S-class secret," Tsume said as she looked at her younger daughter. "You will learn of it once we board the vessel." With that, she began packing her things. Hana just nodded her head and began packing her things as her trusty partners helped her with it, but the worry was still in her mind. Tenten's home. Tenten quickly packed her essentials in her sealing scrolls. She remembered that the Hokage told them to not take any exploding seals and tags, so she decided to carry every single one of her weapons in her large scroll. She hurriedly packed as many things as she could, knowing for the fact that Lee was going to be here soon. "Hey Tenten." The familiar voice of Rock Lee came from out of the door. "Are you ready? Guy-sensei is here. We are going to Naruto's apartment to get him and that Enko lady." "Naruto's apartment?" Tenten spoke up in confusion. She knew for the fact that she, Rock Lee, and Naruto were all orphans, but they never saw him at the orphanage, just at the academy, and the only way one could get their own apartment is if they are a shinobi, no matter what the rank is. "I'll be down there, give me a moment." Tenten shouted back and looked back at her room, not knowing when they will be back. She gave her room one last look. "Ai-sensei," Tenten greeted her Jonin teacher. "Good afternoon." She was a bit unnerved by the current demeanor of her Jonin sensei. The always bright and youthful Jonin was extremely serious, so it meant only one thing, there was something dangerous going on. "Good afternoon, my youthful student." Guy greeted her. "Hope you are ready." Tenten just gave him a nod in return and then followed the Jonin to her next destination. Aburum residence. Shino silently packed his backpack as the rest of the hive remained silent in an eerily manner. Shino's father stood a few feet away from him, watching his son pack his bag, both of them not saying anything, just enjoying each other's company for the final time. Haika clan compound. Niji Haika, the prodigy of the Haika clan, stood in front of his clan head. He knows for the fact that the Haika are serious and very stiff, but today the seriousness was off the charts. Hiashi Haika, the leader of the clan house, stood in front of him. Beside her stood his daughters, Hinata and Hanabi Haika. "I am going to speak, Niji." Hiashi started as he looked at his nephew. "Do not interrupt me, not until I allow you to, understood?" Niji just nodded. He does not want to anger the man who could just kill him with a single hand sign. "You know I am the head of this clan, and as such, my first and foremost duty comes to that of the benefit of the clan, and I've made many mistakes while being the head, and I regret many decisions that I made." He then turned to look at his nephew in the eyes. "One such decision is the death of my brother." Niji's fist tightened. He didn't want to hear any kind of fake sympathy from the man. "If I had a wish, I would have wished that it was me in my brother's place, but it could not happen." The Haika prodigy wanted to lash out at the man, but he held in his anger. "I will not discuss it anymore, but I do have a few things for you." Hiashi brought out a scroll from his sleeve. This is a letter from your father to you. Niji looked shocked at his admission. I know that you wish to read it, but you will not open this letter, not until you have boarded the vessel. You cannot open this letter until that time. He wanted to refuse, but couldn't as Hiashi's glare bore holes in him. To be sure, I will hand this scroll to the Jonin escort, Kurana Yuhi, you will receive it from her once you board the vessel. Niji again nodded his head. Now, your second order is to keep my daughters, who will be with you, safe, Hiashi told the man. You don't have to worry, Lord Hiashi, as a branch member he was cut off by the clan head himself. I did not allow you to speak, Hiashi said in an authoritative voice as Niji looked at the floor. Anyhow, I am not asking you to do this job as a branch member. Hiashi's eyes and voice then took in a soft tone. I am asking you, as their older cousin, keep them safe. The three of them have never seen the clan head like this. Yes, Lord Hiashi, Niji said. Good, you are dismissed, Hiashi said while looking at the genin. As Niji left, the man turned to look at his two daughters. Hinata stepped forward. And the older of the two did, and the man brought 5 scrolls from out of his sleeve. These scrolls, just like I told Niji, will be opened once you have boarded the vessel. Is that understood? He then pointed to one of the scrolls in his hand. This scroll you will give to Jiraiya of the Sannin. You will meet him at the vessel. Hinata's eyes widened at the mention of the Sannin, but she nodded her head at the command and took the scrolls from her father. Now both of you, Hiashi said. He suddenly wrapped both of his daughters in a hug, surprising them. I know that I am not what you would call a good father, I am not, but I want you to know that I love both of you very much, you are my daughters, my pride. Hinata and Hanabi looked confused at his confession, but they returned the gesture as both nearly cried at the affection that was being shown by the usually stiff man. I am proud of both of you, now I want you two to promise me something, Hinata and Hanabi listened intently. I want both of you to help each other grow, to be there for each other, and support each other, understood? Hiashi asks of her two daughters, as both nodded their heads in affirmation. Hi. Hinata and Hanabi spoke up respectively. Good, now let's prepare your bags for your travel. The Wagakure no Sato. Inoki watched his granddaughter as she looked through her bag. They fought just a few minutes ago, but in the end, he was able to get his granddaughter to agree to go with her father to the vessel that the Hokage had prepared. The storm, the disaster was approaching quickly, but at least his family would be safe from it. He looked to the side and watched with interest as the two Jinchuriki, Rashi and Han sat at their place. This would be the first time that any of them had listened to their beasts, but what can they say, even they are feeling the effects of the disaster that is approaching this continent. He does hope that the place where the Hokage was talking about would be safe. On the other side sat Kitsuchi and Akatsuchi, waiting for his orders, with the 3 young ones that he had chosen himself. Akatsuchi. He called to his most loyal shinobi. Before you guys leave for the vessel, I want you to promise me that you will keep my granddaughter safe. I will, Lord Inoki, Akatsuchi told him. And Kuretsuchi. He called out to his granddaughter. I know that you angry at me for this, but trust me, this for your own good. He then brought 2 scrolls out for her. I want you to read this letter once you board this vessel, and also these are all the techniques that are in our vault. I think you will need it. Grandfather, Kuretsuchi called out to the person she idolizes the most. Please, let me stay here, she pleaded again of her grandfather. I could help you with my decision is final. Inoki spoke up in his authoritative voice. You will leave for the vessel, right now. Kuretsuchi hung her head in defeat and Inoki's eyes softened at her. This is for your own good, my child. Yes, Lord Tsuchikage, Kuretsuchi said and took the scrolls and left the office. I ask of both of you again. Inoki looked towards the Kitsuchi and Akatsuchi. Keep her safe. Outside of Kumagakure. Pillar B, along with his charge, Yujito Nai, followed by Samui, Kari, Mabui, Amoy and Yukoi, ran for the forest that will lead them to the vessel that has been prepared by the Hokage. Behind him, the rest, except for Yujito, looked at the man in surprise and shock. They know the expression that he had on his face. The expression was fear. But why he had that, nobody knew. The man was feared throughout the elemental nation after all. Behind him, Yujito held the same expression of fear on her face. But Tabi and Jaiuki were scared. It was not as if there was someone much more evil or stronger that was coming. Oh no. As much as they were a tailed beast, the two were still part animal, and their instincts were telling them to get as far away from the place and fast. And if the Hokage's vessel could give them that, it was all the more welcome. The two Jinchuriki picked up their pace, followed by the 5 people behind them. On the ship, outside of Kurigakure. Mei Terumi looked at the sky, it was bright, but she could see a large black spot in the distance. She turned to look back and saw the sword of one Zabuza Mamachi that was being held by his apprentice, Haku. On the side stood Utakata and Chijuro, as their expression turned sour as they reached near the mainland of the elemental nation. How long will we have to stay at this place, if you don't mind me asking? Utakata asks the Redeed. Not long, May said. A day or two, at most. The requested people will reach there in that time. If you ask me, Yudakata started. It is a long time. And with that, the man went back inside the deck. A few miles away from Sunagakure no Sado. Baki and Pakura looked at their Jinchuriki, who was for some reason for the first time was not acting off, but was running away from the place which is an equal of hell for him. Pakura had her arms full because of carrying the little child with her. Behind them, there was Tamari, Kankuro, Mitsuri, and Maki. They didn't know what was happening apart from the fact that they were going to board a vessel along with the members of Konoha. Apparently, before leaving the place, Yoshimaru talked with Gaara as he was the only person that the Jinchuriki ever trusted. Gaara was already agitated with recent things that had been brought up, but after his talk with his uncle, he was somewhat sad and angry. At least, he wasn't lashing out at them. Although, that could change any moment. We need to get off this land, fast. Baki and Pakura heard the one-tailed Jinchuriki speak as he suddenly picked up speed, running for the place that they had to reach. On Hagakure with Naruto. Banko and Naruto left their apartment a few minutes ago, and on their way, they met the three with whom they are going to travel with. He decided to seal the scrolls that the old man had given him and put it in his bag, alongside the raiment and extra clothes. As they neared the gate, Naruto noticed 7 more people there, apart from the gathered ones. 4 of them were girls. "Ah, you are here finally," the Hokage said from where he stood. "Let me introduce you to the other people who will be traveling with you. This is FK." He pointed to the girl with lime green hair and orange eyes. "She will be traveling with Tucci and his escorts, okay?" The 5 nodded their head at the order. "This is Isaribi." He pointed towards the girl with purple hair and black eyes. "She will be going with the Haika and Jounin Yuhi." At this said Jounin nodded her head at the affirmation. "Here we have Yuki Fujikaze, Ino, Tenten, and Sakura shrieked. "Yes." Hokage said again as the girls were calmed down by their respective escorts. "She will be with Jounin Kakashi." Kakashi stepped forward for the girl to see who she was traveling with. "And this is?" He pointed to the final girl, a blonde with pale lavender eyes, somewhat like Hinata. "The princess of the land of demons, Shion, she will be traveling with Jounin Gai." Said Jounin stepped forward at his words to show with whom they were going to be traveling. The rest had wide eyes at the fact that a princess was going to be traveling with them. "Now that all has been decided, I have one final gift for you guys," the Hokage said, and an Anbu came forth with the signature Konoha headbands. "These headbands will represent you and the village at the place you guys are going," Hiruzen told them and gave the Konoha 9 their headbands. "I know that the headbands are a sign that you are ready to become shinobi, and to do that you have to pass the exam, but this headband is for you guys to remember and represent us in the new continent," Hiruzen told them as he gave the 9 rookies and the Konohamaru Corps the symbol of the village. "Now I wish all of you the best on your journey," Hiruzen said as the whole group left for the place. Not knowing that it would be the last time they will see this village like this. Prologue 2. The end of Elemental Nations. 2 days later, a port city in Fire Country. The people from Kurigakure waited for the people that were supposed to be here. In those 2 days the Jinchuricus had gotten a bit more restless. Especially when the lost Jinchuricus of Iwa along with Itsukikage's granddaughter and 2 other shinobi. "How long are they going to take?" Yudakata spoke up again. And it was way out of his personality. "The clouds are getting closer minute by minute." Rashi spoke from beside him. May, seeing his words, looked in the direction and true to his words, the large speck she once saw was getting bigger. "So you are the people that would be traveling with us?" At hearing the voice, the shinobi from Kiri and Iwa turned to look at the owner of the voice to see a man with waist-length hair into ponytail. He had a large scroll on his back and a forehead protector with kanji for Oiloi Rashi. "How's it going?" the man said with a raised hand towards the old red-haired Jinchuriki of the 4 tails. "Jiraiya of the Sannin," Rashi said while looking at the man, whereas the rest widened their eyes at the man's appearance. "You are going with us too?" He then looked at the group with which he was moving. Which had his fellow Sannin and her apprentice and 2 young girls, one with red hair and purple eyes and other with black hair and green eyes. Seeing the other Sannin, Rosh raised a brow. "Tell me that we aren't expecting Orochimaru here too?" he said in a sarcastic tone. "Oh, someone's snappy," Jiraiya said to him. "And I know for the fact that you know why." Rashi shot back. "Yes." Jiraiya went from the laid-back attitude to serious. "So how long will we be here?" Rashi asks again. "Group from Kumo had arrived," Jiraiya told the man. "And the one from the Suna is right there." He pointed to the side where a group of shinobi were waiting. "Where are the ones from Konoha?" May was the one who asked this time. "Well, if I am not wrong, they will be here just about now." Jiraiya pointed to the side as a large group came into the view. "That is a large group," Yudakata muttered from his spot looking at the group. "We do have most influential clans of elemental nations." Tsunade spoke up from her position. "And 2 of the strongest bloodlines too, if I am not wrong." You are not wrong about that, but what I would like to know about are few. Rashi said with his gaze that was stuck at one blonde knucklehead. So are we ready to leave? We are. Jiraiya told the man. Gather everyone. And all of them did. Jiraiya took note of the whole group. Thank you all for coming here. He said to the whole group. We are all here for a reason, which is that all of us are to leave for a new continent that has been reached only once before. We will be going there for a reason that you will learn once we are far enough from here. He told them much to their confusion. But for now, I would need you to follow me. He then paused for a moment before speaking up again. And before I forget, let me introduce us, this Karen. He looked pointed at the red-haired girl. Shizuka. The black-haired girl with green eyes. Shizune. The girl with black hair and black eyes. Tsunade of the Sannin. This got wide eyes reaction from the people who didn't know before he pointed at himself. And me, Jiraiya of the Sannin. He saw that few from the group of his home had some questions, but he proceeded with his words. I know that all of you have questions, but it will be discussed later on. I need you guys to follow me right now. And with that he led the group to a giant cave near the sea. The size of the cave was huge, at least as big as the Hokage Mountains, and so was the width of the cave. He led the group into the cave as they followed behind him near the walls. Lord Jiraiya. Yujito was the one to speak up. Where are we going? Oh yes. Jiraiya started. You see, inside this cave there is a ship, an extraordinary one. Jiraiya told the group. The land we are going to is very far from here, basically on the other side. It will take us at least 2 to 4 months at the most to reach that place. At his explanation, the people following behind him widened their eyes. And the manpower will be minimal for the working of this ship, unlike some of the ones that you saw outside the ports. Why we are going to such place, if it is that far away? Kuretsuchi asked the man. I already told you that you will learn it once we are further from the elemental nations. Jiraiya answered the girl. After walking for a few more time, they finally got to see the ship they were talking about and several people that were loading on the ship. The people from the elemental nations dropped their jaws at the sight of the ship. What the hell is that? Naruto, Kankuro, Ino, Konohamaru, Kiba, Kari shouted out the thoughts. This. Jiraiya started as he raised his hands and spread it out. This is the vessel. Unlike some of the ships out there, this ship is a purely mechanical one. You can now understand the absence of the mast. One of the major reason that the trip will be a bit less taxing. Another reason that we will be using this ship is because the ship will have everything that we will need, including showers and other things. After boarding the ship, Jiraiya showed the people the deck of the ship before he called Naruto out. Hey Naruto. He called out to the blonde who was sitting at the front of the deck as the rest of the people looked at the ship, their luggage being loaded by the group. Oh, what's up, pervy sage? Naruto asks him in surprise, not seeing the expression that the rest of the people on board send him, an annoyed expression that became present on his face. Pervy sage, huh? Tsunade said from her place with a smirk on her face. It suits you. I wonder who else was the one who used to speak like that. Har har, I am laughing so hard. Jiraiya said. But enough those, come with me. What for? Naruto asks the man. You will see. Jiraiya after that turned to look at Tucci. You too, Tucci. Of course, Lord Jiraiya. Tucci said as he left things with his daughter and followed the Sannin along with Tsunade, Rashi, Mei, Baki, Akatsuchi, Tsume, Kakashi, and Killer Bee. Jiraiya led them to the captain's cabin, where an old man stood with a cigarette in his mouth. Lord Jiraiya. The man greeted and then turned to look at someone. Tucci, you have grown old. I am not the only one, Arashi. Tucci told him as the man just gave him a smirk in return. His eyes then turned to look at the only child that was in the group. So he is the brat's brat. The man took hold of Naruto's chin, studying the kid. He looks a bit like them. He is their kid, Arashi. Jiraiya told him. Now we need to hurry up. Yeah, I know. Arashi said while looking at Jiraiya. Get the kid to open the door. Jiraiya nodded his, the rest were on the other hand confused. Naruto looked at the Sannin. What does he mean? He asks the Sannin. Naruto. Jiraiya started. This is your parents' ship, as they were the first and the only one that actually went that way, and when they came back was in this ship. Naruto eyes widened at the information. So what does that had anything to do with him? Baki from behind him asks. Well, his parents did seal the door of the captain's cabin with a seal so that nobody else apart from them and their direct family could open the door to that. Jiraiya said. And we will see if the kid is actually their kid. The man told the group. So if he is not their kid, we are all stuck here. Akatsuchi growled at the man. Oh, he is their kid, alright. Jiraiya told the others. Now Naruto, I want you to put your hand on the handle and push chakra into it. Naruto followed his instructions. When he pushed his chakra with his hands, a sealing array appeared on the door with a very familiar whirlpool design in the middle as it passed over the whole door and a sound of click came from the other side. Well, he is their brat. Arashi said and moved inside. Tell everyone to settle and I am making the announcement. Jiraiya nodded his head as all of them moved to where the others were. I am going to assign the rooms for each of you. Jiraiya said while looking at the others. The lower deck will be used by the staff and for all of our luggage, and we will be living in the rooms on the upper deck. He paused as he led them down, where the rest were. Alright everyone, the ship will be sailing. Jiraiya told the rest of the group as he stood beside Tsunade, Killer Bee and Rashi to discuss few things. Anko then stepped forward as she approached the two living legends. Lord Jiraiya. She greeted the Toad Sage. Lady Tsunade, I was told by the Hokage to give the two of you this. She handed them the scrolls that the Hiruzen provided her with. Jiraiya and Tsunade took the scroll and opened them to read. Halfway through the scroll, Jiraiya shut the scroll with a frown, whereas Tsunade had hers clenched with anger present in her. Before she could lash out, Jiraiya put a hand on her shoulder. Not right now, Haim. He told her. We have other things to take care of. He then looked at the crowd and called. Everyone. He shouted. I know that all of you have received a scroll from your family and loved ones, am I right? Many of the people just nodded their heads at his words. Now they are from your family and I don't have any right to ask you off this, but none of you will open these scrolls, not until either me, Tsunade, Killer Bee or Rashi. All of you can open these scrolls and letters. He then paused as many of the people, especially the granddaughter of Inoki and the three little children, gained a frown. I know that I shouldn't order you like that, but believe me, it is for your own good. Then when can we read the letters? Kuritsuchi said while glaring at the older man. You can just have us not read them until we reach the place. How about this, young lady? Jiraiya started. Once we are far away from the continent, Killer Bee and Rashi here will allow you guys, and then, and only then, you must open the scrolls and letters. Jiraiya told her, and she was about to argue more with the Sannin when the voice from the speakers stopped them. Telling the crew to get ready and draw in the anchor. The ship was about to set sail. With the ship moving and the people living their world behind. 3 weeks later. It's been 3 weeks that the people of elemental nations were now in the sea. The people on the ship had been on the edge for past few hours, just after the Jinchuricus relaxed. Naruto had learned a few things during this time about the people he was traveling with. The people from Konoha, he knew about them. He for one, knew that the people from Iwagakure don't like him or are somewhat wary of him for some reason. Don't know what it is, but they were, especially the older girl Kuritsuchi. He even asked her once about why she hates him. She just told him that he reminds her of someone that she has seen a picture of. Don't know who though. Well, at least the older were somewhat sociable. Kumagakure were a weird bunch of group. Especially 2 males from the group, one who was too much of a pessimist. Really, some of the comments headed about being on the ship freaked him out a little. The other was the rapping guy with too many swords, Killer Bee. He sometimes looked at him with a knowing look which sometimes freaked him out at times. Then there was the youngest of the group, few years older than the Konohamaru core, but younger than him. The girls were the only one that were the normal ones of the group. Well, if one could ignore the amount of time one of them decided to strike the pessimist to stop, and the other was too busy teasing him, while another was too busy talking to herself. The one from Kiri were an interesting bunch. The older lady was weird with the amount of attention she gave Kakashi and Tenzo, and the one from Suna, she also threatened to kill the man with her whenever he made a remark about her. With them was another guy with glasses and a sword. He was a bit clumsy. But the one person that he made friends with was Haku. For some reason him and her had hit it off greatly, with her telling him about her teacher and misadventures they had, while Naruto told her about the escapes he had after pulling of his prank successfully. He also was able to enjoy himself with the youngest member of the group, who was the youngest in this whole group of people, a 5-year-old girl, who decided that Naruto is her older brother. Well, he can't exactly say no to her with how she kept herself attached to him after that. Then comes the people from Suna. They were a bit aloof at times and interesting people. He got along well with older lady, Pakura and Kankuro, along with another girl Mitsuri. Sometimes he got well enough with the older girl Tamari when they were making fun of her younger brother Kankuro for using makeup. Apart from that, he got along well enough with Gaara. For some reason, he reminded him of himself, and at times, his eyes reminded him of Haku too. He was alone. He once asked Kankuro and Timri about it. Why does Gaara act like that? Naruto asks the brother and sister. Tamari and Kankuro looked at each other and then turned to look back at him. After pondering for some time, they decided to tell him few things about Gaara. Our father, Tamari started, wanted Gaara to be the trump card of Suna to show the daimyo of our country that we are strong, so that the missions that he had been directing towards Konoha would be redirected to us. She told him. And because of that he trained Gaara to be a weapon and weapon only. But it came with a cost. Kankuro said from beside her. Because of all the training and our father's strict nature and methods of the training, Gaara started to become distant and cold, and as such our bond with him got weaker. And in the end he became alone from everybody else around him. Kankuro told the blonde with a grim tone. He is our brother. Tamari said to him. And both of us care about him, but because of all the things he went through, he does not care either about me or him." She then paused as she looked at him. There is only one person that he had actually ever trusted, and that person right now is back in Suna. After hearing the story, Naruto knew that something was amiss with the story, as he got another feeling from Gaara sometimes, but they were genuine when they told him that they still love their brother, so he just gave them an advice. "Why don't you then repair that bond?" Naruto asks them. "It's not that easy." Temari told him. "Trust us, we've tried." "They try harder," Naruto said to her. "You're making it seem easy." Kankuro scoffed from his place. "But it's not." "I never said it's going to be, I just told you try harder." Naruto shot back. "I will also help you with this if you want." Temari and Kankuro looked at him not believing what they were hearing. Nobody does this kind of things, especially to strangers. Temari decided to ask him. "Why?" "Why what?" Naruto asks her in confusion. "Why do you want to help us?" She asks him. "To better our relationship with Gaara." Naruto just shrugged his shoulders. "He seemed like he needs a friend," Naruto said, much to their shock. "And so helping him better his relationship with his family will be good for him, don't you think?" He gave both of them a grin. "So I promise you too that I will help you and your brother and become his first friend Databeo." There was silence with them before Kankuro burst out laughing, annoying Naruto. "Boy, what are you laughing at?" Naruto shouts at the puppet user. "Nothing," Kankuro said while trying to stifle his laughter. "I like you, kid. We are the same age," he told him. "Who are you calling a kid?" he shouts at him. But sighed. "Anyway, I was here something else, I was asked by the Pakura lady to tell you to reach main deck for something." After that the group had several meetings and true to his words Naruto, alongside Haku and Mio, the youngest member of the whole group and self-proclaimed sister of Naruto, were trying their best with Gaara to get him to open up. From their side Temari and Kankuro were also trying, and they added Mitsuri to help them. It was working. Gaara was opening up bit by bit, especially when he created a sandbox for the youngest people to play in the behest of Mio. The other people he got to know better were Tsunade, Shizune, Karen, Sai-FK and Isaribi. For some reason, Tsunade and Naruto ends up arguing about the lack of skill she has while betting, which considering that Naruto has all of the luck in the world as the amateur won every poker match or betting match they had as he won everything that is on the line. It was saying something as he didn't even how to play. He also got off the hook after calling the San an old hag. The first few times he got punted by her. After that, well, all got used to it. Shizune and him got along well enough, with her being the apprentice of the older lady. Karen, or as he was told, Karen Uzumaki, she is his cousin, his family. For an orphan who had been alone all his life, it was a gift of the lifetime. He remembered that he cried a whole lot that day. For the first time in his life he had a family. Karen cried alongside her, as she was also very happy to meet another member of the family. They've been inseparable since then, seeing together most of the time. Sai was another thing altogether. He didn't show any kind of emotion, and those that were on his face, well, Gaara was better at making expressions than him. His smile was too fake, and do not get him started on his weird inability to speak names, and provided everybody else with demeaning nicknames, calling Sakura, billboard brow and flat-chested. Tenten was either crazy panda or psychotic Mickey Mouse, he was less, Sasuke was duck but less, and the name goes on and on. Guritsuchi and Sakura were so pissed one time that they pounced on him and would have killed him if not for Tenzo and Akatsuchi. FK and Isaribi were easy to get along with, FK more so than Isaribi. Once he became good enough friends with FK, he was able to make a friend in Isaribi. This left him with the last peoples in the group, few of which were Ninkins. Now keeping Ninkins aside, the people were Shizuka, Shion and Yuki Fusakas. For some reason Shizuka hated him if the glares that she keeps on sending his way was anything to go by. She looked like she would kill him at given notice. Shion and Yuki were, in simple terms, stuck-up bratty princesses, nothing more, nothing less, but from time to time he could see something else in their eyes. It was as if the bratty child attitude was a mask. Well, he does try to talk to them from time to time, but if they would just hold up on the bitchy attitude, it would be great. The Ninkins were great to be around, especially Hana's 3, he did become good enough with Kiba's, especially when he found out that he pissed on Kiba's face. Now Jiraiya, or Pervy Sage as he liked to call him, had become his teacher on the ship itself, much to the surprise of the rest of people. He decided he will train Naruto, and he agreed to it in moment notice. After all, he did help him in substitution jutsu and transformation jutsu. He did create the sexy jutsu to be used against this guy, and helped him with his taijutsu. Speaking of teacher and training, he finally found out why he can't do the clone jutsu, and was provided a substitute for it. Jiraiya stood with Naruto on the main deck. With Naruto with him alongside him were Sasuke and Kiba, but they were being taught by Kakashi and Tsume respectively. On the side were Hinata, Ino and Sakura with Kurenai and Anko. Tenten and Rock Lee were with Guy. The rest of the group were resting inside. Apart from this, on the sidelines stood a group. They were being watched by Shino, Kazuki's siblings, Shizuka, Shizune, Tsunade, Asuma and Yugao, Baki, Killer Bee and Yujito, Rashi, Haku, Mei and Ao, Kuritsuchi and Kitsuchi. So you are telling me? Kuritsuchi started. He already failed the academy. Kuritsuchi then brought up 2 fingers. Twice. Yes. Shino answers her. Then why is he even here? Tamari asks him. Not to sound rude or anything, but most of us are genins and are much better than him in most of the things. Shino just chuckled at her disregard of the blonde. There is a reason he failed the academy twice. Tsunade said while looking over the training. Otherwise, from what I've been told by Jiraiya, Yamato and Kakashi himself, he should have graduated. It might be a good reason. Killer Bee said and then turned to look at Shino. Is he the same age as you? Yes. So he must be competent if he cleared the initial exams to pass the academy early. Killer Bee told him. Initial exam? Kankuro asks and the other kids except Shino looked at the man in confusion. Yes. Killer Bee started. After the third shinobi war, a summit between the cage took place. Killer Bee said while looking back the training shinobi. In the meeting a set age was designated for the students of the ninja academy of all the countries. He then looked sideways at the young ones. It's one of the reason many of you find a genin team of same age, except the rare ones. Killer looked back at the Konoha group training themselves. For the rare ones, it was decided that if someone could take the academy exam to become genin before their year, they must pass an initial test to prove themselves. But why? This time it was Shizuka who asked that. The logical answer would be to make sure that it is the right decision of having a young child in the field, especially when there is no war. Shino was the one to answer that. Why draft someone so young in military when there is no need? It is also done to prepare the child. So if there are that many people who could vouch for him. Kankuro interjected. Why didn't he pass the exam? That's the thing, he passed the initial exam before which he passed after he took the academy exam, which totally is depending on the teachers in the academy and the council of Konoha. Shino answered him. Yes. Shizuka spoke up. And yet we still don't know the reason as to why he failed the academy exam, or if there was a reason. You question his abilities. Shino stated. I am. Shizuka said. I mean, have you looked at the kid? I don't think he could actually do anything. He isn't even serious most of the times when one of us gets to train with him, moreover have you seen what he is wearing? She then looked at where Jiraiya was helping Naruto with his training. I think it was pure luck that he is even right now. Luck? Shino asks with a raised brow. You're underestimating him, very much at that. Shino then looked at Naruto. I have seen him outrun and outlast many of the Chunins and Jounins with his traps only after he played a prank on them. The whole of Konoha knew that it was him that entered the Hyuga clan undetected and stole of their garments and spread it around the village, but because of their pride and bloodline, they couldn't just tell the people that it was a 8-year-old child that did that. Last year he infiltrated the Anbu headquarters, the one place that is most secured in the village, to play a prank on 2 Anbu who stole his raiment. How does he even knew that it was them? Is still unknown, but he did that and escaped the Anbu. Shino told him of the pranks that he did on the people. And he did all of that while wearing the orange-colored tracksuit you see him wearing all the time. This made the group drop their jaws. Surely you exaggerate. Terumi said after a while, coming out of her initial shock. He is not. Yugao Yuzuki said from where she was watching, she still thinks that it was not a good idea for her to be here apart from her lover. He certainly did all of that in under 3 hours. How, you may ask? Shino said as he looked over the group. It's simple, Naruto Uzumaki is first and foremost an aesthetic learner, apart from that his ability to think outside the box and unorthodox ideas make him a much dangerous foe. Yet he still failed. Kuritsuchi said with a sneer. Watch, you might learn why he failed. Shino said in defense of his friend. Alright kid. Jiraiya started as he looked at the kid. Now show me the substitution technique. Naruto did it flawlessly, doing it with one of the staff members. Good. Jiraiya said while looking at the kid. Now a transformation. And Naruto smirked. The rest, knowing that something bad is coming because of the smirk, looked at him. Oi Brad, what's the smirk for? Jiraiya asks the kid. This. Naruto said as he made the hand sign. Sexy jutsu. And in that space stood an adorable sexy teen blonde girl with blue eyes and 3 whisker marks in each side of her cheeks. She had a figure to die for. She was naked, no clothes, with the cloud from the technique covering her privates to be shown to the rest of the world. To give the technique effect, the girl blew a kiss towards the crowd. The effect was instantaneous. Every male in the crowd except for the extremely young children fell back with a giant fountain of nosebleed. Jiraiya had a dopey grin on his face. Killer Bee was a little better as he held his nose together to stop the bleeding from the nose. Asuma, Rashi, Kitsuchi and Ao were in the same boat as Jiraiya as they were shot back because of the transformation. Kakashi and Tenzo didn't fare any well because of the sudden appearance of the blonde naked girl, so did Kiba, out of all the males only. Sasuke, Gaara, Sai, Shino and Naruto, because he was the one who did it, were the only one that were unaffected. Sai did have a bit of a blush on his face and a trickle of blood from his nose. Shino looked at the scene in indifference. Sasuke, while had a blush on his cheek, his eyes were twitching erratically. On the side Gaara looked at the transformation in surprise and then at all the blood that was around him, but the people were still alive, the voice in the head, his mother seeing such an effective technique for blood called for it. And so did Gaara. "Teach me." Gaara said with a whisper as he looked at Naruto. Temari turned to look at her brother in deadpan. And then eyes of every single female on the ship landed on one person who was laughing on the ground and they jumped at him with their righteous feminine fury directed at just one person. And as such Naruto learned to never use the technique, his sexy jutsu in front of a female, ever again. After a severe beatdown from all the female present and slapping the perverts awake. A swollen Naruto stood in front of an equally swollen Jiraiya. "The previous technique of yours." Jiraiya looked at the child in front of him before he gave him a large grin and a thumbs up. "Was a masterpiece." His face then took a serious note. "We will discuss about that later. Now show me the clone jutsu." Naruto grimaced at that and so did Kiba. One side Shino turned to the group. "Now you may learn why he failed." Shino told the group much to their confusion. Naruto made the sign required for clone and clone jutsu. Beside him now laid a disfigured lame clone of Naruto. Naruto grimaced at his showing whereas Kankuro and Kuretsuchi burst out laughing. Yujito leaned towards Shino. "That's the reason he failed the academy?" Yujito asks and Shino nodded his head. Back with Naruto he was angrily muttering to himself about the lame-ass technique as Sakura and Ino grumbled. "Seriously Naruto?" Sakura started as she looked at his face. "How many times I've to tell you, use a little less chakra while making the clone?" Naruto turned to her angrily. "What do you think I did?" Naruto shot back at her. "That's the least amount of chakra I could send. And you need to refine your control more." Temari said as the one who were training turned to look at him and he just shook his head. "I've done that," Naruto said much to their surprise. "And I still don't know what I am doing wrong." Now child don't be down." Killer Bee said in a rhyming tone and Yujito face palmed at hearing the familiar rapping tone. "You don't have to fear, well Killer Bee is around, yo." All of them looked at the man as if he had grown two heads. What?" Naruto asks and Kakashi then stuck his fist as he understood. "Ah yes, you are Killer Bee," Kakashi said while he gave him a eye smile. "I heard that you love to rap and rhyme, didn't knew that it was true." Naruto was about to speak but was stopped by the hand of Kakashi. "So you might know the reason he isn't able to do the clone jutsu?" Ino asks the man. "Fool you fool, I know that it's not his fault." Killer Bee said as he rapped on, with Naruto looking excited. "It's all because his reserves default." "What?" was the collective sound. "He is saying that." Yujito started. "Your chakra reserves are very large compared to your control, which makes it extremely difficult for you to actually use the basic clone technique." She explained to them. "It is due to his Uzumaki heritage." "Uzumaki heritage?" the children from Konoha asks. "Wait, you mean to tell me that this guy is part of some clan?" Sasuke asks. "Some clan?" Kuretsuchi says while looking at him. His clan was much feared clan known for their longevity and exceptionally large chakra reserves. It is said that Uzumaki are distant relatives of the Senju and Uchiha clan and helped Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha for the founding of the clan. She got confused and shocked looks from the kids of Konoha. "Seriously you don't know?" Kuretsuchi asks in surprise. "How can you not know of something that has been a part of your history?" Sakura being a little prideful regarding her book knowledge took it as an insult. "How come you know about this?" she asks her in return. "It was destroyed sometime after the Second Shinobi World War. So they were weak just like the dope." Sasuke spoke up in arrogant tone. "You are an Uchiha right?" Kuretsuchi asks him and he just looked at her. "Yes, what of it?" "Oh nothing," Kuretsuchi said while looking at him. "It's just that you have too much pride for someone whose clan was killed off by a single man." Sasuke frowned at that remark and looked as if he will lose it but was stopped by a hand from Kakashi. "Don't," Kakashi commanded him. "Again, how do you know so much about this clan?" Ino asks trying to divert any sort of attention from the comment about the prowess of Uchiha clan. "It took the combined might of 3 villages of Kumo, Kiri and Iwa, along with a few of minor villages." The Konoha children had their eyes widen at that remark. Even then what happened was that Uzumakis were scattered instead of being killed. It left a taste of defeat and humiliation with the result of the attack and has been told about it in the rest of the academies. "Whoa." Naruto said with awe present in his expression. My clan is a badass. Yeah. Kakashi said while looking at him. They were. So his Uzumaki genes are responsible for him not being able to make clones? Sakura asks. Well, not clones in general. Kakashi said as he looked at the scene. He would have hard time trying to do a genjutsu and equally hard time performing jutsus that would have less chakra but very high control. Well man. Kiba said and turned to look at Naruto. That sucks. But I can think of few other clones that you could try. Jiraiya told the child who jumped up in excitement. And he did teach him a new clone technique after he was able to select one. And now here they were after 3 long weeks when Jiraiya gathered all of them here for an announcement. So some of you might be thinking, why are we all here? Jiraiya started. What's the purpose of the trip? Why were we all traveling so far away? He then paused as he got attention of every single person on the cruise ship. Well, to put it simply. He looked at all of them with a grim expression followed by most of the elders on the ship. Elemental Nations is currently on the brink of destruction. The silence reigned supreme after he announced that. Few of you knew about it already, but let me tell you about it. A month ago several of the animals and summons started acting off, am I right? Jiraiya asks them. It was due to a storm that has reached the elemental nations. As we travel further away from it, the chances of the destruction of the continent is very high. Jiraiya looked off to the side as the shocked group looked back in the direction from where they started. You were chosen by village leaders to be sent with us for travel to the new continent and live there. We cannot come back to the nations for at least 5 years. After the 5 years are over, few of us will come here to see if someone survived. Until then we are to live on this new continent. Jiraiya noted that few of them wanted to question his claim. I know that all of you have questions, but now you can open the scrolls that were provided to you. I hope that they will give you a proper answer. But that Jiraiya shoeshined himself to the captain's cabin. The children, especially the one that didn't knew about it, and the genins, looked at their caretakers. What? Naruto and Kuretsuchi yelled in surprise. You mean to tell me as we speak? Kuretsuchi pointed at the distance. Our home is being destroyed by someone. Not someone, Kuretsuchi. Akatsuchi told her. It's being destroyed by natural cause. He then looked at the surrounding. It was decided by the cages that all the prospects that had potential will depart the continent on this ship. But what about all of the other people there? Akatsuchi asks again, and beside her Naruto nodded his head. They are also moving towards a safe place. Akatsuchi told them. But their speed isn't going to be as fast as ours. There is a reason you all were set out for this place fast. Then why are so many from Konoha are here? Kuretsuchi asks him while glaring at the Konoha residents. Because their village, no, the whole fire country, Akatsuchi said while looking at them, is at the center of the storm. He then looked at the gathered group. If you wish to learn more, those who were given scrolls read them, and those who didn't ask the jounins of their villages. And with that he also went away, and genins and children scrambled to open the scrolls. But Naruto. After running back into his room on the ship that he was given, Naruto scrambled to find the scroll that were given to him. He threw his things aside and searched for the scroll until he found it. He put his chakra into it, and then the 5 scrolls came out and burst. He put his parent scroll and the giant scroll aside and picked the scroll that he was sure was letter from the old man. He opened it carefully and began reading its contents. Dear Naruto. If you are reading this letter, then you would have been told by Jiraiya what is happening in the elemental nations. And if the predictions are right, then the fire country is going to suffer from the worst of the conditions. The chances of survival for the people in this country is quite slim, and as such after you we are evacuating as many people as we can as fast as possible. Do not even think of asking someone to turn the boat around for the peoples. We are sending you away so that you and the others on board the vessel can't survive. Now as to why you were chosen, well, I've many reasons, and it's not just because you are my surrogate grandson. The reason that you were chosen to be on board the vessel is because of your parents, as you would know that it's your parents' ship and they sealed it off so it couldn't be used by others. There is a reason I or anybody else from the Shinobi Council didn't tell you about your parents. Don't count the civilians ones, and you and I both know that they hate you too much. And because of that reason I was able to have 3 more clanless people on the ship. Yes, because I didn't told you your heritage, I was able to save a few lives, nothing much, but I did save your friends. Now another reason that I didn't told you about your heritage is due to the enemies they made, both inside and outside the village. But I didn't take a part of your heritage, as you might have learned by now, the Uzumakas. But these aside, and before I tell you about your heritage, there is one thing that I need to tell you, and that thing could lead you to hate me. Well, it would be justified with all the guilt I am living with, and one of my guilt is this. Naruto's eyes widened at the statement before he continued reading again. It is the worst kept secret in the village and is the reason as to why most of villagers hate you. But before you read that, I need you to promise that you won't be angry and will read the letter completely. Naruto nodded his head, accepting the part. You, my child, are the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Naruto nearly dropped the scroll, but held it up to understand what is written. Now this doesn't mean that you are Kyuubi in human form, God no. You my child are someone who is keeping the rest of the village safe by keeping the demon at bay. You are a hero Naruto for keeping the village safe for all these years, I just hoped I would have been there myself to tell you that. Now Jinchuriki, as I don't think you would know what that is let me tell you. They are humans with Biju, that is tailed beast inside them, you can ask more about them from Jiraiya. And apart from you rest of the Jinchuriki are on the board too. And you hold the strongest of them. The Kyuubi no Yako. We gave out the false information when we told that the fourth Hokage killed the beast. But the beast was a being of pure chakra, it cannot be killed, so the fourth Hokage decided on another option, that was to seal it in a newborn child, but he couldn't just seal in any child. He needed someone in whom he had faith that the child when grown would be able to use Kyuubi's chakra to save lives. Who better trust than his own flesh and blood? Naruto dropped the scroll when he read that part. Naruto, you are the son of fourth Hokage. He was one of the bravest and strongest person that I met and he loved you dearly. He wanted nothing more than to live with you and your mother. Now your mother, she was one of the strongest kunoichi her age. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was a bit headstrong and a prankster like you and had a very similar verbal tick like you. I remember when she found out she was pregnant with you and the Jiraiya after finding out led a long night celebration. Another thing you have very similar to Kushina apart from her attitude is that both of you were the Jinchuriki of 9 tails. She was the Jinchuriki of 9 tails before you and as such was able to use a bit of its power or as much as Kyuubi allowed her to have. Now the reason the Kyuubi attack happened and believe me when I tell you, it was not Kyuubi that attacked. On the night of your birth a man attacked, Oroga Chiha, who attacked you and your family, to save you Minato used one of his seals, but the man escaped with your mother, after then he ripped the seal of your mother, crippling her severely, and put the Kyuubi under Genjutsu, an illusion. After that Minato with your mother did manage to break the hold of the illusion from Kyuubi, but the damage was done, Kyuubi in its confusion was destroying everything, and your parents were weakened, in the last-ditch effort, both of them used the last of their chakra to seal the beast in you, and leaving you in my care, in which I failed. There are many things that I need to tell you and many apologies that I need to make, but please forgive this old man and keep yourself safe to where you are going. With love. Here's in Sarutobi. Naruto read the letter twice, thrice, before he remembered something else in the letter. Ask more from Jiraiya. He thought and with that in mind he ran out of his room and bumped directly into Sasuke. Dope. He heard Sasuke shout. Watch where you are going. Naruto looked up to shout at him, but stopped short when he noticed the tear stains at corner of his eyes. You were crying. Naruto stated. Why were you crying? Sasuke glared at him for the enquiry. None of your business. Sasuke growled at him. He then picked himself up and began moving. Naruto also picked himself after remembering why he came out in the first place. Both of them were looking high and low when they were joined by Hinata. So whom are you looking for? Naruto asks. None of your business. Sasuke seared this time. I am not asking you, team. Naruto shot back at him. I am looking for Lord Jiraiya. Hinata told them. I am looking for him as well. Naruto told her much to her surprise. And I think I know where he is. With that Naruto started moving towards the captain's cabin. Are you sure he is here? Sasuke asks him. I am pretty sure. He said and then turned to look at the Uchiha. By the way, why are you here? There is something that I need to ask. Sasuke told him. Which could only be answered by him. Naruto just nodded his head at the statement and decided not to pry further. Oi pervy sage. Naruto entered the room after opening the door but stopped mid-sentence when he looked at scene. There stood Jiraiya of the Sannin arguing about something with a green toad who was actually able to speak. From behind him Hinata and Sasuke entered and looked out of place with the argument that was happening in front of them. Arashi, the captain turned to look at the 3 kids. Boy brats. He yelled out and Jiraiya turned to look at them. Why are you here? We were looking for pervy sage. He told the man. For some answers to the question we had. So you read the letters? Jiraiya said while looking at them. And they nodded their head. I will answer you questions, but can it why a sudden rumble stopped him from speaking? What was that? Jiraiya asks but turns when a cigar drops on the ground. He turned to look at the man who was the only one that was smoking in here. Arashi on the other hand had his eyes out the window as it looked like they will pop out of the head. Jiraiya also turned to look in the direction and his breath hitched. In front of him was a giant dragon-like creature with large silver wings. It had a long neck and large tail with plate-like protection. On its face over its eyes it had large blue spikes, he could see that apart from white silver texture the dragon-like creature had blue in and between it. Jiraiya noted that the wings almost resembled hands because of its structure, but his musing was broken when he heard Arashi speak. Luja. At the sea. Luja. Jiraiya heard Arashi mutter, with something akin to reverence and a bit of a fear. He turned to the side to Pa but was surprised to see even him looking at the strange creature with the same look as Arashi. On the deck below the shinobi were gathering, many of them had drawn their weapons against the giant creature. Jiraiya turned to Pa when he spoke. Tell the ninjas to lower their guard. Jiraiya looked at his trainer in shock. With where we are and how we are none of us would stand an ounce of chance. Jiraiya seeing the expression on Fukasaku's face just nodded his head in return. Everyone. Jiraiya said through the mic so that his voice could be heard over all the ship. This is for every shinobi and kunoichi on the vessel, none would raise their weapons, not until I say so. Jiraiya said over the people as the silver-black eyes of the dragon-like creature, Luja if that was what Arashi muttered under his breath. Nobody move, I will be coming down there myself. Jiraiya then turned to look at Pa and was about to ask about the giant creature when. What kid of creature is that? Naruto exclaimed after his shout. He suddenly felt something hit him in the head and his face met the ground hard. Don't speak without thinking, brat. Pa shouted at the blonde child. Over there, he is not some creature. Pa turned back towards the place where the Luja was flying. That's someone who could destroy all of us as we are, a being who is said to be on par with a tailed beast like Kyuubi or Hachibi, he could drown all of us where we are. That's the guardian of the seas. Pa said to the shock of others. A being of legend also known as Luja. It's good to see that someone in that land knows about me, a deep yet gentle voice spoke up, but instead of hearing a voice, everybody could feel the voice in the heads even if it's a summon of Mount Myaboku. It's been a while since I met someone from the spirit world, especially from the clan of toads. Everybody on the deck turned to look at the Luja flying outside, in shock because they could feel the voice in their heads. Yes, I can speak, now Fukasaku, will you come here so that I could talk to you? Fukasaku tensed, hoping that someone out there might have pissed him off. And bring the 9 of them here too. Jiraiya, Fukasaku and Naruto tensed with the remaining people on the board, knowing about the Jinchuriki also tensed. The rest remained clueless. Naruto at first looked confused, which turned into shock when he heard another voice inside his head. So you felt us here, Luja. A deep growl rumbled inside his head. After that Naruto was sure that the eyes of the flying dragon locked in onto him. You came all the way here just to meet us. The voice then took a pause. Granted it wouldn't be the first time you did it, but this is something new, especially after you and the Pokemons were taken from the continent because of the hatred of humans and the surrounding energy of that place turning foul. Naruto heard the entire sentence spoken in his head, so he knew who was speaking, but one thing stuck out in the whole sentence. Pokemon. Naruto muttered and Arashi and Fukasaku turned to look at him in shock, whereas Hinata, Jiraiya and Sasuke looked at him confusion. You know about them? Arashi asks. Before Naruto could answer the man, the voice of the Luja answered the giant 9-tailed fox that rested inside of him. Indeed, Kurama. Naruto heard a deep growl after the name was said. Kurama. Is that Kyuubi's name? Naruto thought. It is, Kurama said. Don't try it out on your tongue, ninja. The voice of the Kyuubi growled. You haven't proven yourself worthy to say my name. Naruto wanted to shoot something off at the deep voice of the fox, but stopped when the Luja spoke again. We can talk about your loathing of human at a later date. Luja said as the other looked on in confusion at the Pokemon for that comment. Call the 9 out here and the leader of the group and tell me as to why a group from the elemental nation is heading towards this part. Fukasaku turned back to the door and beckoned for the other people to follow him down onto the deck of the ship. Luja landed on the main deck taking a large space, forcing several of the shinobi back. The people on the ship looked at the creature in curiosity. Fukasaku was followed by Jiraiya and Naruto, who was being followed by the Sasuke and Hinata. Behind them they were joined by the rest of the Konoha 12, followed by Kakashi, Tsume, Yamato, Anko and Genma. Beside them now stood Rashi, Han, Akatsuchi and Kuretsuchi, with them were the 2 Jinchurikis of Kiri and Mei, with Aoi with her. Ara, Baki, Tamari, Kankuro and Pakura stood on the other side of the Konoha group, with Fu, Isaribi, Killer Bee, Yujito, Samui, Kari and Amoy with them. Ara, Yujito, Chijuro, Han, Rashi, Utakata, Fu, Killer Bee and Naruto for some reason were acting weird, the rest of the people nodded. Gaara's hand twitched, getting him a weird look from Baki and Pakura and concerned look from his siblings. Yujito and Killed Bee for some reason were more serious, the former was more serious than usual and later was too quiet for some reason. Chijuro and Utakata at times looked relaxed at first and then cringed themselves and muttering to themselves and cursing. Han and Rashi were fearful and then just like Chijuro and Utakata cringed at something and then looked relaxed. But it was Naruto and Fu's expression that were concerning the people on the boards, as both were the most outgoing person on the ship with too much energy to spare, but this time both were not speaking a single word since the giant Pokemon landed on the deck. Do not worry, the ship won't sink from my weight. Luja said to the surprise of the others. I am here to ask other things. As Luja said this, Jiraiya stepped forward with the rest of the shinobi's eyes trained in on the creature. Yes, Luja, is that right? Jiraiya asks the giant creature. That is what I am, yes. Luja answered the man as the rest of the ship fidgeted at the size of the creature and the fact that he could speak, which the Luja took notice of. You people are not comfortable with me like this, am I right? He directed this question at the rest of the shinobi and people from the elemental nation. It's good that I came prepared for this. As he said this, two small creatures from its back and landed on the main deck. Both were blue in color with man differences. The first one, blue in color, had club-like arms and two long blue antennas spherical in shape at the end and head shaped like onion. It also two yellow dots over its eyes joined to the eyes with a line, something like an eyelash. The other creature was similar to the previous one in many ways including the color but was very different at the same time. It had a round head with a sack, a large ribbon on his head and flipper-like arms. It had two blue dots on his head connected to its eyes with thin black line. There was no doubt the two were cute and it came in the face with loud squeals from several females on board. The two creatures were suddenly surrounded by several females. But so cute. Naruto was sure that it was Ino who said that. I know, right? Sakura spoke up from the side looking over the two little creatures. It's like a baby. Even Hinata was there. The two creatures looked at the surrounding females and smiled and made a sound of sorts. Oh. Even Tamari, Kuritsuchi and Shizuka cooed, along with the older females of the group. Some of the males were there too, commenting on the weird creature cuteness. Naruto turned to look at the only females that were not there. Yujito, Nai and FK stood with the 9 and Jiraiya. Why are they here instead of like the rest of the girls? Naruto thought as he observed the girls cooing over the two Pokemons and the two that were with the Jinchurikis. Luja on the other hand watched the two being fawned over by the female and female population of the ship. I see he brought the Prince of the Seas and its deformed freaky child with him. The giant voice, probably Kyuubi, spoke up in his mind. Prince of the Seas. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Where? He turned to look at the sides. Don't make a fool of yourself, idiot. Kyuubi's voice grumbled inside his head. If you want to ask me something, just say it like a thought and I will answer, don't speak out loud. Alright then, where is the Prince of Seas? Naruto asks Kurama. A small blue creature with two antennae and yellow dots. And Naruto looked at the said creature and then blinked some more. He kept on blinking until the word settled down in his mind. That is the Prince of the Seas. Naruto exclaimed in shock and pointed at the Pokemon with two antennaes. The shout made the rest turn to look at the gawking blonde who was then hit on the head by the frog toad that was standing with them. I told you, brat, think before you speak. Fukasaku said as Naruto rubbed his head and FK giggled at him. What does he mean by Prince of Seas? Tenten, first to come out of her frowning of the little blue Pokemon, asks. Because that's who that is. Fukasaku said while pointing at the small blue Pokemon with club-like arms. Manaphy, the Prince of the Seas. And that Pokemon is its deformed freaky kid? Naruto asks while looking in the direction of the Pokemon, which got him strange look from males, scorned look from the women, and a glare from the said Pokemon, and he was hit on the head again by the elder toad. Think before you speak, you idiot. Fukasaku yelled and then looked at the small Pokemon. But you are right, Fion is the kid of Manaphy, it's elective breeding like the Craw, except with only one person. He explained the last part for the adults. What's a Craw? Naruto asks again. Nothing you need to know right now. Jiraiya quickly told the teen and then turned to look at the giant silver Pokemon. So what do you want to talk to us about? He asked the Luja. I would like to talk away from here. Luja told the Sannin. I don't think we can fit you inside the ship. Jiraiya said as he made a hand motion toward the size of the Pokemon. Fukasaku facepalmed at the rude gesture done to the legendary Pokemon. Do not worry. Luja said and then looked around for someone. Just call someone here who don't get shocked easily and will remain calm. Jiraiya gestured to Yamato who then stepped forward in front of the giant creature. Good. Luja said as he once looked over the man and turned to the two small Pokemon. Manaphy, come here and do what you do best. He said to the young Pokemon. Manaphy made a squealing sound and then went to the man jumping in its arm. Yamato caught the Pokemon in its arm and then stopped forward to Luja. Whatever happens, do not freak out. Luja commanded the man as Manaphy closed its eyes and two spheres on the end of its antenna began to glow and touched them to Luja and Yamato. After the light was gone, Yamato stood with Manaphy still in its arms and Luja beside them. Yamato was the first to speak. So this what a human body feels like? Yamato said to the confusion of others. Luja at first blinked and then looked around and then looked down at Yamato and Manaphy and blinked again. It looked like the Luja was going to do something when suddenly Yamato raised his hand in a stopping motion. As I said before, do not freak out. Yamato said as he looked at the Luja. Luja started to make some kind of roaring sound while looking at Yamato. Don't try, you don't know how to use my abilities, so you won't be able to speak for the time being. Yamato then put Manaphy right under the Luja's front. Now keep Manaphy safe. The man said while looking up at the Luja. I am sure you will if you want to come back in your body. Yamato turned to look at the crowd as they looked at the three in confusion. Don't worry. Yamato said. I just borrowed his body till I can find out as to why the 9 including several other people from the elemental nation is coming here. He then looked at Jiraiya expectantly. Now, lead us to a room where we could talk. Yamato said, but Jiraiya's eyes narrowed for a bit, the ability was too similar to the Yamanaka mind transfer jutsu. What did you do? Jiraiya asked Yamato, who probably had Luja in its body. It's more like what did he do? Yamato Luja said while pointing at Manaphy who was looking up at Luja. A special move that allow him to switch the heart and mind of the targets, heart swap. A signature move of Manaphy and Majirna. Fukasaku said to the surprise of people. Yes, so it would be in their benefit to keep the TW3 safe while I learn as to what happened to the nations. Yamato Luja said as Jiraiya and Fukasaku began to lead Yamato Luja and the Jinchurikis inside the deck. They reached the meeting room on the ship as Jiraiya led the whole group inside. Once in the room Yamato Luja was the first to ask the question. So what is happening over there in the nations? He asks as he looked at the crowd. And why are the tailed monsters inside of the 9 of you? Tell him that many things had happened since the Pokemons departed from the land. Kyuubi said to the kid. And for the love of the one that is above all of us, if you want to say something to me, think instead of yelling. Naruto did just that. Why should I? He thought back to the 9-tailed demon. Because nobody actually know what happened and why were we sealed, every one of them know half-baked ideas, including you. The giant being of chakra responded. Is it not because you try to destroy Konoha? Naruto asks. You fool, Kyuubi roared inside the head of Naruto, making him flinch. I am older than your village itself, why would I destroy a place that I've no intention of coming around? Now tell him what I told you. Geez, no need to be so grouchy. Naruto thought as he rubbed its ears. And thus he began to tell the others what Kyuubi was speaking. Kurama said a lot of things has happened since the Pokemons were taken from the elemental nation. Naruto spoke to the confusion of others as the beast made of pure chakra yelled at the blonde-haired kid for using its name, making Naruto cringe, but he smirked as he understood that the Kyuubi doesn't like people who he doesn't like to speak its name. Jiraiya, Fukasaku and some of the other Jinchuriki looked at the blonde in confusion. Kurama? Jiraiya asks the teen in confusion. Oh yeah, it's Kyuubi's name. Naruto told the Toad Sage. Kyuubi has name? He asks again. All of the tailed beasts have name. Killer Bee said. Really, like what? Jiraiya asks. Shukaku. Gaara said as he looked at the Sannin. Watabi. Yujito was the second to say it. Isobu. Chijiro said after a moment. Son Goku. Rashi spoke up next. Koku. Han said. Seiken. Utakata went next. Jamae. FK said the name with exuberance. Jayuki. Kyler B said while pointing at himself. And we know Kyuubi's name so. Jiraiya started and then turned to look at Yamato Luja. What is that you want to ask? I would like to know as to why a ship was coming from the elemental. Yamato Luja asks. And Jiraiya began to explain the whole situation regarding the elemental nation. I see. Yamato Luja said and then looked up at the Sannin. I want you to know that as long as you are on this part of the world, you will not use any chakra around people. This got him a look of indignation from the crowd. You may use it privately, but you will not use it in front of people. But why? Jiraiya asks. I assume that none of you wish to come on the radar of unsavory people after escaping the destruction of your nation. Yamato Luja said and Jiraiya understood as to what he was saying. Chakra is strong energy source, as strong as aura when used properly, but many of the aura guardians have gone almost extinct because of their ability to get in touch with us legendary and their ability to calm any raging beasts. They were hunted by several organizations who wished to find the legendary Pokemons and capture them, and some of us have the power to change the course of history. He said to the shock of the people. As such you cannot let them know of your chakra which is very much closer to aura. He told them. But you can still train with your ability, away from the people. He then looked at Naruto. Some of you seem to have very low control on their abilities. Naruto just rubbed the back of his head. Yes, well, it's not my fault that I freakishly large reserves. Naruto grumbled. It's not your reserves that I am talking about. Yamato Luja said. It's the lack of control you have over Kurama's energy that is inside of you and hasn't come out. Yes, well it isn't my fault that I didn't knew about the big giant furball that was inside of me for the past 12 years. The other 8 looked at the kid in surprise. What? Seriously, I didn't knew about Kyuubi till today after I opened the letter and read it. The other 8 turned to look at Jiraiya for answers. Don't look at me, I didn't made the order where everything about him was supposed to be kept a secret. He told the rest of the Jinchurikis who gave him a deadpan look. Putting that aside. Yamato Luja said. I hope that you understand as to why I ask of you to not use your abilities in the open, also try to not use summon out there. I understand. Jiraiya said after hearing what has been told by the possessed Yamato. Yamato Luja then looked to the side where he could see the sun. I have to leave, now. Yamato Luja stood back up and went near the door, as Jiraiya and Fukasaku followed behind him followed by the Jinchuricus. They again reached the deck where the Luja Yamato sat with a weird look on its face, as some of the younger children mainly girls, played with the two Pokemons. Manaphy and Fine after seeing the Yamato Luja come out from the inside, quickly went to him. I thank you for taking care of these two. Yamato Luja said to the group. But it's time for us to leave. Making the rest groan in disappointment, he then took Manaphy in his arms and walked to the Luja Yamato. Manaphy, heart swap. And just like before, the two antennae glowed while touching both Luja Yamato and Yamato Luja. After the light receded. Your own body is much better. Luja said as he spread his wings and the two little Pokemon climbed up the said Pokemon. Till we meet again. And then he turned to look at Naruto who was standing at the side. I can only imagine what would happen when the chosen one meets the child of prophecy. Luja said and the eyes of Jiraiya and Fukasaku became large and before they could ask something else the Luja took to the skies. Jiraiya. Fukasaku started. You are coming with me to Mount Myaboku at once. He ordered. In the meantime, Tsunade, Kakashi and Killer Bee can take care of it. But why? Jiraiya asks. We must discuss what the Luja spoke about. He told the Sannin. Alright, let me first tell them, alright. And after that Jiraiya went on to hand the control of the group over to Tsunade and Killer Bee, with Kakashi. I will be gone for a few hours. He told the three. There are few things that the Luja said that needs to be discussed by the Toad clan. Tsunade nodded her head at that. Also B, inform the rest of the group about what has been discussed about the usage of chakra, we do not need any attention on us when we reach the continent. Killer Bee nodded his head at the command. He gave out few more orders before he was reverse summoned to Mount Myaboku. 2 months and a week after. It's been 9 weeks since the group had the meeting with the Luja with the Jinchuricus and Jiraiya and Fukasaku, 6 weeks since they were informed about the destruction of the elemental nation. They've told to not use their chakra in open once they reach the mainland of the Poke Nation, that is what it was called if Naruto was told right. There were many protests from the on-board passengers apart from the staff when they were told about not using the chakra in public, but they all agreed after a long argument. Recently many of the people have been distant, for example Sakura, Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji grew a bit distant. Hinata was in this group too along with Hanabi, but they came back with a little help from Lee, Mio and Naruto. Tenten was a bit down too, but she helped the three bring back the spirit of Konoha kids. Konohamaru Corps resigned themselves to their rooms before Asuma barged into their rooms with Naruto. Yakumo unlike the others was more like Naruto and Lee, trying to help others. So were the other member of the ship. The people from Kumo, Kuritsuchi was more or less in the dumps, she was not eating, talking to others, and at times snapped at other people, even Jiraiya, Kitsuchi and Akatsuchi, until Naruto and Karen nearly broke her door down and decided to knock some sense into her, well more so Naruto than Karen, she followed him with a plate of food. What the hell are the two of you doing? Kuritsuchi yelled at the two Uzumakas. Leave me the hell alone. Karen and Naruto took notice of her sudden appearance with her hair disheveled, clothes and bed sheets a bit damp, and many of the things that occupied the room on the ground. From the door Jiraiya and Akatsuchi followed by a little girl of 4 years old with blood-red hair, unlike the hair of Karen or Mei, watched the showdown. We will once you eat the food. Naruto shot back. I don't want to, you idiot. Kuritsuchi yelled at the blonde. Now get out of my room. Again you eat the food and I will. Naruto yelled at the girl. Look, everybody out there is worried about you, especially your father and your bodyguard, heck you have us worried with the way you are acting. Naruto then looked off the side. But not eating while on this journey is not good for your health. He is right, you know. Karen said as she laid the plate for her on the table. You haven't eaten once for the last 3 days, since we were told what was happening back in the elemental nation. She then sighed and looked directly at the other girl. Akatsuchi told us why you are so sad. Beside her Naruto also backed down. I know how you are feeling. Do you? Kuritsuchi started with a bare whisper. Do you? She roared at the two. If you knew what I felt you would have listened to me when I told you to turn the ship around for the people, if you did you would have allowed me to return to get my grandfather. If I did, I would punch you in the face for spitting on the sacrifice your grandfather made by choosing you and the others to send you guys with us to save your lives. Naruto shot back to the girl, shocking her, but she quickly turned her shock into a glare onto the blonde. And how would an orphan like you know about losing someone? She mocked Naruto. You're right. He told her much to the surrounding people's shock, but his words had a hint of sarcasm in it. How would someone who never had any family know about losing someone, like an old man who helped you get in the academy, made time out of his busy schedule to help him read and write? he said and took a step forward while glaring at the girl. How would an orphan like me would care about an old man who made sure that I remained safe not just from the enemy of the village, but from the people inside the village that wants to harm him. He took another step forward, causing Kuretsuchi to take a step back. How would an orphan like me could care about losing a grandfather who made sure to have me and my friend safe, while also making sure that many of the people can escape from the upcoming destruction of the village? Tears began to form in the corner of his eyes. If I do what you are doing or I ask or order the ship to be turned around for the elemental nations, then I will be doing what you are doing right now. I will be making a mockery of the sacrifice he made, sacrifices he had made to make sure that we remain safe. Kuretsuchi began crying at his words. But he is in danger as we are speaking. Kuretsuchi said with tears. He could be dead for all I know. Your grandfather is the cage of your village, right? Naruto asks her and she nods her head in confirmation. Then he must be strong, am I right? She nods her head again. Then there isn't a chance that a lay mass storm like that is going to stop him from meeting his granddaughter again. As he said this, a small smile began to form on her face and he gave her a grin in return. So let's make a promise. He brought his pinky finger for her to meet. A promise? She asks him. Yeah. Naruto spoke up with excitement. Let's make a promise that we will get strong and when the 5 years are over we will both go back to elemental nations together. He said while holding his grin, as Kuretsuchi gave him a smile in return and held her pinky finger out as they both made a promise. I promise. Kuretsuchi said, and while both smiled at each other, Mio entered the room followed by Jiraiya, Akatsuchi and Kitsuchi. Does that mean I get a new sister? She asks Naruto. Naruto tilts his head in confusion. Why would you get a new sister? He asks her and the rest of the people in the room sweat dropped. Now I remember something. Kuretsuchi said as the aura around her suddenly darkened and a creepy smile formed on her lips. Naruto, seeing the expression, looked at her worriedly, whereas Jiraiya and Akatsuchi hightailed out of the room followed by Kitsuchi. You destroyed the door to my room. And barged in without my consent. Naruto at that just gave a nervous smile. Well, Naruto started. It was for your own good. My own good, Kuretsuchi said as she tightened her fists. Really? What would you then if I would have been changing my clothes when you barged in, would that be good for me? Or she trailed off in a threatening manner. You wanted to see me in my underwear? Boy, now you are making that up. Naruto exclaimed while pointing a finger at her. Why would I want to look at you while you're changing clothes? Aren't you the one who made that perverted jutsu? Karen supplied from the side with a dangerous innocent smile. Boy, whose side you are on? Naruto said while pointing at the redhead. He then felt a chill down his spine as when he turned to look at the girl who was now raging. He did learn that the girls can hold grudge that day. Kumagakure group was well and good, they handled it better than the others, and so was Kiri. Well, Haku was down in the beginning, but after a while she was back to normal, except for the big ass sword on her back. Shizuka was the worst one of the whole bunch, but after a while getting to talk with Jiraiya and Tsunade, and for the first time talking to him without glaring at him, and well before that she had a talk with Ayam and Tucci, and playing with Mio for a while, she was good. Yuki and Shion also became a bit less of the bratty princess, what do you know? Losing someone's home can change someone. The people from Suna were also in good spirits, apart from the fact that a week later after the meeting with Luja, Manaphy and Fion, Gaara acted a bit off. He was nervous even at the littlest of things, and so were the others from Suna, which in turn made Jiraiya, Tsunade, Killer Bee, Rashi, Kakashi, Han and Akatsuchi paranoid. So to ease all of them, Naruto did the only thing he knew what to do. He took Mio, Kiba, Shino and Karen to have a talk with a group of Suna, more specifically Gaara. Boy, Gaara. Naruto called out to the Jinchuriki of the One Tail, and to his surprise he jumped up in surprise. Beside him Temari and Kankuro also turned a bit fearful at the sudden action. Well man, you guys alright? Kiba asks the group seeing the three jump up. On the side the Jounins from Suna looked at the scene in surprise. You look like you've seen a ghost or met a demon. Kiba said with a sarcastic tone, not noticing the Kazukiage siblings and Naruto flinch at his words. No, it's nothing. Gaara said to the first friend he made. No, it's not nothing. Karen said while shaking her head. For the past week you guys have been on edge, do you know why? It's none of your business. Temari said from her side. Don't meddle in something that doesn't bother you. Well, it does. Shino said as he pushed his shades up. You ask why? Because the current attitude and actions of your group suggest something dangerous is approaching, making you tense, which in turns is resulting in the rest of the group on the ship to be tense as well. It might be Kankuro started but was interrupted when he noticed the little girl of the group pulling on Gaara's pants, draining the color from his face. Big brother Gaara. Mio called out to the older redhead. Can I play with your sand again? Gaara, to the surprise of the two, just gave the little girl a smile. Not now, Mio. Gaara told the girl as she pouted, not being able to play in the sand and make sand castle. Maybe I will play with you later. he said to the little girl. "Do you promise?" Mio said while looking at him with stars in her eyes, and Gaara just nodded his head. "I promise. I just need to talk with Naruto for a moment." "You want to talk with Big Brother?" she asks. "Yeah, it's something important, after that then we can play." The girl nodded her head and then went back to Karen. Gaara on the other hand turned to Naruto. "I need to talk with you," Gaara said and then motioned for him to follow to their room. Once inside the room, Gaara let Temari, Kankuro and Karen in. "Hey, why can we come?" Kiba asks, annoyed by the sudden action. "Because I don't want you to," Gaara said back to the Inuzuka and then turned to look at Mio, Shino and Akamaru. "I believe you can take him back." Shino just nodded his head while Akamaru gave a bark of agreement. "Of course we can," Mio said as Shino grabbed Kiba, dragging him away. "So what do you want to talk about?" Naruto asks him. "Is Kurama acting a bit weird?" Gaara asks directly to the other's surprise. What do you mean?" Naruto asks him. "Since the time we met Luja, Gaara started. Shukaku has been acting weird." "Weird?" Naruto asks. "How?" "Usually, Shukaku acts like an insane beast," Gaara said to the surprise of the others. "He is always hounding me, torturing me, yelling in my head, stopping me from sleeping." Gaara looked on the ground. "To kill someone, anyone, but now?" "But now?" Naruto asks. "He is calm," Gaara said to the surprise of his sister and brother. "He is not making any sort of noise, even during the night when he is the loudest, there is nothing else other the calm sound of the seas. It's because of the natural energy coursing through the surrounding," Kurama suddenly said to the surprise of Naruto. "Natural energy?" Naruto spoke up in surprise at his words. "DCH, you are one ignorant child, aren't you?" Kurama said, but then grunts. "The old man, Jiraiya, he is sage, isn't he?" Naruto just nodded his head. "Tell him to use his sage mode once when he is Poke Nation." "Huh, but why?" "Because that is what it Shukaku, calm down." "What do you mean?" Naruto asks him in surprise, not knowing that the word he spoke were out loud, getting him weird reaction from the others. "We as Biju, a tailed beast, can feel a natural energy, not only that we also respond to it," Kurama started. "Compared to this place, the elemental nation's natural energy has been tainted by the negative emotions of the humans, and as such we responded to it. At first it was easy to ignore, especially with the help of all the Pokemons that were around, but when the people with aura were hunted down, the Pokemons as a whole left the side of elemental, and with no one else to help us cope with the sudden increase of negativity, many of us became a bit drunk on it and went insane," Kurama said, much to Naruto's surprise. "But now that we are away from there, the negative emotions in the nature is low because of the presence of the Pokemons." "How can Pokemon keep the negative emotions in the nature or with humans present?" Naruto asks. "Don't know," Kurama answered the man. "And not every Pokemon can do that, there were few Pokemon like Lugia and other Pokemon that were able to do that, not every one. You will learn more once you reach the Poke Nation." He explained what he has been told by the Kyuubi, and then he looked at the side to see 3 sets of confused stare he was receiving until he began to explain them too, and to his surprise the 3 took it much better way than he thought. Also Jiraiya agreed to look over Gaara's seal once they reached the land. All things considered, the group had gotten close since all of them had to be around each other all the times that they got well enough with each other. There were still few disputes and arguments here and there, but the whole journey became much better when everyone on the ship opened up, even Sasuke. If one could ignore the times of amount his face went red, Naruto was afraid that he was getting same sickness like Hinata. Also the training on the ship became much more difficult, the older shinobi, like Killer Bee, Shizune, Tsunade, Rashi, Akatsuchi, Kakashi, Han, Yamato, Yugao, Asuma, Anko, Kukura, Chijuro, Utakata, Mei, Ao, Baki and Kurenai gave every younger member of the group training, and after learning that training in the other nation was going to be tad bit more difficult, the younger generation gave their all to learn. Jiraiya on the other hand decided to train Naruto, and for the first time, he was too tired to actually do anything else. Another thing the group noticed was the appearance of various types of Pokemons in the sea. There was one that way too big, bigger than the ship EVE and Wylord, another was bit different, but they were sure that it was just a smaller version of the bigger ONE Whalmer. There were few bird Pokemon that they met, then there were few turtle-like Pokemons, and there was one that had giant guns coming out of its back. The octopus jellyfish like Pokemon tentacruel and tentacle, a weird shark that just had half a body, Sharpedo, a group of red-colored fish with mustache, Magikarp, and a giant blue serpentine-like Pokemon who had its mouth open all the time, Tuchi and Arashi, forbade the others to go near them. They are supposed to be angry 24/7 Gyarados, a way to ugly fish and a beautiful one just after it. Imagine their surprise when Arashi told them that the ugly fish Phoebus, that's what the Pokemon was called, grows up to be the bigger one melodic. There were few other Pokemon like Mantine, Corphus and others. Everybody on board were surprised by the appearance of the Pokemons that they were seeing. "I see land," one of the crew members shouted suddenly. Naruto with Mio on her shoulders looked in the direction they were pointed to, and much to their relief, they saw the actual land they were supposed to be at. The two looked at the land, mesmerized by it. The land was beautiful, well, spending nearly 3 months in a ship gave all of them a new perspective of both the seas and the land, and all of them will agree that all of them liked the land much more. Soon the whole deck was filled with people as they came closer to the ship to see the land. "So how do you like the new place, brat?" Jiraiya's voice came from the side, and Naruto and Mio turned to look at him. "It's going to be our new home for the next 5 years, after all." On the side, Tsunade and Shizune along with Karen and Shizuka looked at the new land where they are going to begin a new life. After reaching the land Poke Nations, Kanto region, Vermilion City. Naruto looked at port in surprise, this place called Vermilion City Port. The port was filled with lots of people and Pokemons. Mio, who stayed with Naruto, looked on at the new place with fascination with Naruto, keeping a close eye on her, on whom Jiraiya kept an eye on whom Tsunade kept her glare if he turned a few angles off in the side to gawk at the women. "Now what?" Mei asks the Sannin of the legend about what they will be doing. "Now, it's Tucci and Arashi's work," Jiraiya said, much to Tsunade's, Am's and Naruto's surprise. "My father?" Am asks. "Yes," Jiraiya said to her. "Your father along with Naruto's parents came to this place once before, one of the reason he knew about Pokemons." "And how long will it take?" Killer B asks this time. "Not long, considering that they are both approaching with someone new," Jiraiya said while looking off to the side where Arashi and Tucci were being followed by an elderly man with a cane and some kind of red and white ball on top of the cane. "Hello." The old man greeted the group and the whole group. "So you are the group that came from the Elemental Nation," he said, and then looked at every shinobi that was present there, then back at the staff member. "I must say, the group is a bit bigger than I thought," he said while counting the numbers of the whole group. "It's not going to be a problem, is it?" Jiraiya asks. "Oh, it's no problem at all." The old man just waved him off. "It's not that large, just a few people extra, in the single digits of course," he said. "Allow me to introduce myself, my name is Kazama Akuma, I will be helping you all to settle in." He then looked at the weapons that were on the person. "I would ask of you to keep the weapons hidden," he told the whole group. "Because you need to have a permit to carry them on you." "But how will we keep ourselves safe while we are here?" Tenten asks. "This is not Elemental Nation, child," Kazama said the girl. "You don't have much to fear here except for a few problematic organizations, but if you don't have the permit and want to fight for yourself, then you can either fight them in hand-to-hand combat or." He then paused and removed the ball that was on top of his cane and threw it up. As the ball opened up, and much to their shock, a light emerged from the ball in one of the Pokemon. A giant humanoid blue-skinned Pokemon with 4 arms appeared in front of Them. "Machamp, you can have your Pokemon to protect you and fight for you." "Well, how did you do that?" Naruto asks with Mio nodding her head at the question. "You will learn it very soon." The man smiled at some of the children's enthusiasm. "But first let's get you settled in." Few hours later in a hotel. Kazama had led the group to a hotel with the rest of the staff being led to a nearby place. Their luggage was carried by the Pokemons and people. All of them had seen many of the Pokemons in the sea, but some of the Pokemon here surprised the people. There was a small puppy, Growlithe, that got the attention of the Inuzukas and the girls, and the puppy liked Tsum and Hana too. Their Ninkins were hidden with the triplets using Henge to become one of the dog Pokemon they saw, Kuramaru being transforming himself into a giant grey hyena-like Pokemon, Mitina and Akamaru hiding in Kiba's jacket. Keep the Inuzuka Ninkin and the Aburum Kakachu hidden. While the Ninkins may be able to look somewhat like the Pokemons, they are not Pokemons itself, and that revelation could lead to disaster, Kazama told the group. "But they need to walk and train with us. If we do what you are saying, they will be cooped up in one place only," Tsum said to the elderly man. "Do not worry about Lady Inuzuka," he placated the wild woman. "I did not say that you need to lock them up, I am saying while you are moving outside they must hide themselves using the transformation, and you don't have to worry about a place for you," Kazama said as the group listened to his words. The kid's parents traveled a lot of places while he was in this continent. One thing they did was find himself a large enough place with a big backyard for your Ninkin to be here. In the 4 years they spent in this place, he bought himself big enough estates and large findings and a company, and also holds shares in some of the major business in this continent, which later on would become some of the most important corporations in this and 2 more regions. He said as the group minus Jiraiya and Rashi looked towards the blonde who off talking to Karen, Gara, FK, Mio, Ino, Kankuro, Shino and Tamari in surprise. "So that kid is rich here?" Mei asks him. "I think the correct term would be filthy rich, but yes, he is rich," Kazama told the group. "But right now they are under my care, but because of Lord Jiraiya's presence, I am now what you would call me his assistant." Now that surprised Jiraiya. "Wait, what?" he asks him in a confused tone. "Yes, according to the will left by his mother and father," Kazama started. If young Naruto ever travels to or comes to this region before the age of 12 with Lord Jiraiya, a man with white hair and kabuki painting on his face, till the child turns the age of 18 and becomes mature enough, his whole inheritance will be under the care of Lord Jiraiya. He told the group as in whole, minus the younger generation and a few that were helping the young with their luggage. Which remind me, Kazama said, and then brought a large stack of papers and few keys. I would ask all of you to rest for today, we will discuss about your living arrangements tomorrow. He then asked them to gather the group. These will be your rooms in which you will be staying. He handed keys to the gathered people and handed Jiraiya the stack of papers and a key, with Naruto, Mio and Karen standing beside him. Lord Jiraiya, I will advise you to look through the papers before you sleep. But why? He asks him in indignation. Because till the time young Naruto here comes of the age you are to hold them. With that, Kazama went out of the hotel towards a car that was there, leaving Jiraiya with his jaw on the ground and Tsunade and Shizune laughing at his luck. You cannot escape these things even when you are not in elemental nations. She said to him as waterfall of tears started cascading down his eyes, much to her amusement. That's so not fair. Jiraiya wailed as Tsunade, along with Shizune and Shizuka, went to their room for rest, leaving behind Jiraiya, Karen, Mio and Naruto. Naruto turned to look up at the young red head that was on his head. Why didn't you go with others from Kiri? He asks the young child, who turned to look at the blonde in confusion. But I will be living with Big Brother from now on, why would I go with them? The little girl asks him. It may allow you to stay with us. Jiraiya asks the little girl in surprise, and she just gave a nod in return. I will ask her about that later, but for now. Jiraiya said as he picked up his luggage and went inside the elevator. Some of the people were at first startled by the much advanced elevator than what was back in the cage office in Elemental Nation. Let's head to our rooms. Jiraiya was floored with the room that was provided. It was not a room, oh no, it was suite with 2 rooms, one a master bedroom with a king-size bed and a workplace, one a secondary bedroom with 2 beds, a giant hall, 2 bathrooms and a giant TV screen that was fitted to the wall. What the hell? Jiraiya thought. When they said they left a lot of things behind, I was thinking something small. He then looked around the suite. Not something that could provide for something like this. Wait a minute, is it for us or all of us got this kind of facility? He turned to look at the 3 kids that were with him, and just like him, they were surprised too. Whoa man, it's big. Naruto said while looking around the place as Karen and Mio nodded her head. Alright, we don't have much to do, so let's unpack and freshen up. I want to sleep on a bed on the land, it's been too long since I got to sleep on it anyhow. Jiraiya said as he went to the master bedroom to freshen up. Me and Mio will take the shower first. Karen said as she took Mio and went for the shower, leaving Naruto to himself. What am I gonna do? Naruto thought, but after a while as he walked around the suite, took a seat at the giant couch in the hall. At first he was a bit uncomfortable, but after moving a bit, he removed a remote from under him. A remote. He then looked at the giant screen in front of him and clicked on the red-colored button. The screen in front of him lights up as a loud sound comes from the speakers, something like a music. Oi brat, what are you doing? Jiraiya's voice came from the room as he came back into the hallway while rubbing his damp hair. I am just watching the TV, he said back to the older man who now stood behind him seeing what he was watching. There were 2 people who stood away from each other parted by a large ground with 2 of the Pokemon standing in front of them. On one side there was a bipedal Pokemon with bird face like a chicken, with feathers pointing upwards like a wigger hair and long legs that were red near the feet up to its knees before it become black up to its chest. Some sort of flames like ribbons were coming out of its wrist, Mega Blaziken, and on the other side was an equally big green humanoid Pokemon with gecko-like face and 2 large pointy leaves on its wrist. It had a giant tail with red in the end and tree or bush-like till the middle, Mega Septal. Ladies and gentlemen. The voice of an announcer came through the mix system. It is the final of the Evergrande Conference with the both finalists on their last Pokemon. Both the trainers and Pokemon are giving it their all. Let's see how the final match will go. The camera pans towards the 2 trainers, one with a bandana and other a baseball cap with the symbol of Pokeball. Alright, Spettle, use Leaf Blade. The trainer with the baseball cap commanded as the green Pokemon launched itself at its opponent with a leaf on its wrist glowing bright and sharp. Blaziken, dodge it and use Flamethrower. The trainer with the bandana commanded, and as such the Pokemon dodged the attack before launching a torrent of fire from its mouth on the other Pokemon. What is this? Naruto asks in wonder as the 2 Pokemon faced each other in a combat as the trainer commanded. Looks to be some form of sports. Jiraiya noted seeing the large crowd in the background. And much famous than Chunin exams too. Soon they were joined by Mio and Karen, who also got engrossed in the fight between the 2 Pokemon until the end of the fight in which the green Pokemon won the match. That was awesome. Mio cheered when the green Pokemon won the match. Beside her, Naruto nodded his head in acknowledgement. Yeah. Naruto said while looking at the young girl. Did you how the Septal created a storm with leaves in it? It was so amazing. Both Karen and Mio nodded her head. I personally like the will-o-wisp and flame charge done by the Blaziken Pokemon, it was beautiful. Karen said as she remembered the attack's name. Yeah, but Sceptile was awesome. Naruto said. Both of the Pokemon were amazing. Jiraiya added his own 2 cents. But it was obvious that Sceptile and its trainer were more skillful and experienced than the other one with the Blaziken, while both were strong in their own right, and looking at them, it was obvious that Blaziken should have won. He added to the surprise of the children. If you look at it, the Sceptile, it is more related to grass or greenery, while Blaziken was more on the fire side, and if we look at that the Sceptile was in a serious disadvantage in this fight. He said and then looked at the Sceptile and its trainer. But the trainer was able to think of moves and use them to be able to defeat the fire type. You see that kind of strategy used by Inara in the battlefield. Jiraiya thought as the man was awarded a giant trophy and a hefty sum of money per kettler. Maybe we should ask Kazama about them tomorrow. Karen advised and Naruto and Mio nodded their head. You're right, take a good night rest, we have a lot to do tomorrow. Jiraiya said. And I need to go through the stack of papers. He groaned when he noticed the papers and documents that Kazama gave him. With that Naruto went to freshen himself before having dinner, a ramen feast on the behest of Karen, Mio and Naruto. After not having that for nearly 2 months the two went on withdrawal. Jiraiya from his study looked outside the window that was near the study in his room at the giant moon in the sky. It was not only us that left the village. Jiraiya though to himself. Orochimaru is here and so is Akatsuki. He looked at the scroll that was left on the side. Orochimaru made it here with his group, don't know how many are there as of now, but he knowingly brought Akatsuki with him, which is not good in itself, Akatsuki. He looked back at the sky. They came here separately, but from what I've informed by him, only Itachi and Kisame were confirmed to be here, along with Deidara, 3 more are coming, but I don't know who. Also another thing that he told me. He looked again at the scroll. From what their leader has told them they've to make sure the Jinchuricus remains safe here and they are not to provoke the residents of this continent, which means no unnecessary killing, as if there is something here that scares the leader of the Akatsuki, but what? Jiraiya lost himself in his thoughts thinking about what kind of monsters are here that could scare the Akatsuki. On top of it what the Luja told about the Child of Prophecy and the Some Chosen One had gotten the old toad in a bind, apparently these two are part of the biggest prophecy in the world. Anyhow I will find out about it later, first I need to figure out what have they left behind here. He took the stack of paper that was given to him today and sighed before going through the documents. The next day. Jiraiya never slept. Regardless of the fact that they were told to sleep, he was unable to sleep, his student the one who personally trained, the one who chose him as his son's godfather, the one who would later on become one of the greatest shinobi alive and the leader of his village, basically tied him down in one place. Worst part, he can't do shit about it, he could cry, whimper, throw a tantrum like a child, but he can't do anything he was tied like that. He was to take care of a company, the one who is responsible for the manufacturing of so-called Pokeballs, apparently Minato and Kushina, were major sponsors for the scientists that were working on it, for creating Pokeballs with higher catch rate or something. With that Minato and Kushina would later on be helping the original owner of the company with capturing Pokemon, as the owner would later name them as the new heir to the company, as he was unable to sire any children of his own. Under them the company grew with them backing up several trainers and Pokemon League, the tournament that they saw yesterday on the TV and several other competitions, and professors that research Pokemon. The company became famous in the Poke Nations with having several branches in some of the other regions in this place, as they were already married they were here and already choose the name of their child, the whole company was left with the only heir. Because the company being the only company that mass-produced the balls for capturing of Pokemon the company knew heir, which was Naruto and its guardian, which was Jiraiya and to some extent Tsunade, the two were now had to be around the company and have to attend many things and introduce Naruto publicly in this year as its upcoming heir and train him while running the company, which means he was going to have to put his spy work in the backseat. If the people from elemental nations were going to live here for an indefinite time, he and Tsunade would need to work here and learn more things. One thing was for certain, Tsunade was going to kill him for dragging her as a pseudo-guardian alongside him, of Naruto. Met will be good for her. Jiraiya thought as he took the sip of his coffee. This is good. He looked around the place, the whole group was here the children the younger ones and few who didn't have a stick up there but are trying to woo a certain Uchiha, were running around the place playing. Konohamaru Core, 2 from Suna, 3 from Kiri and that one kid from Kumo were playing ninja tag. So how was your stay? Tsunade's voice cut through the commotion as he turned to look at her, behind her stood Shizune, with Tauntaun in her grasp covered with a cloth and Shizuka. I was more surprised by the size of the suite than anything else. Jiraiya nodded his head at that. Yes, I underestimated the things that his parents left for the kid here. You speak as if he was actually crowned a prince. Mei said as she came from opposite directions. Well from what I've read he as well might be. The statement surprised the rest of the people that were gathering, with Kuretsuchi standing with Akatsuchi and Kitsuchi. What? Tsunade asks in confusion. I can explain if you would like. Kazama voice interjected the conversation that was going on. Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, the owner of Sylph Corporation, one of major corporations of the Poke Nations, left their child, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, as the heir to the company, with the company responsible for many things that happens in this nation. He is what you would consider a noble or a royalty. Some of the people looked surprised before they just shrugged it off, except one person, Han of Iowa. He is the son of the Yellow Flash and Red Death. He all but yelled, bringing the attention of the gathered people, including the new generation and children. Who is the son of who and who? Sakura, being the only one of the group, asked as Rashi, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Kakashi glared at the man. After one thorough explanation about Uzumaki clan and 4th Hokage. So let me get this straight, Ino started. Not only Naruto is the son of 4th Hokage, he is also son of the princess of Uzumaki clan. Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded their head as Naruto rubbed his head sheepishly as the rest of the younger generation looked at him in surprise. Which would make him a prince, but he is also the heir of a big hotshot company in this land. Yes. Jiraiya grumbled. The children turned to look at Naruto, then back at the Sannin, and then back at Naruto. How? The people from Konoha shouted in shock exclamation, the younger generation, not the older one. He takes mostly after his mother. Jiraiya told them. The only thing he got from his father was his hair, his eyes and the study of seals. He then looked thoughtful before adding. Well, the thing with seals he got from both of them, with how Uzumaki being fluent with seals and Minato being a natural prodigy with it. He then turned to look at Kuretsuchi and Akatsuchi, Rashi and Kitsuchi, who didn't have the same expression like the rest of the Iowa. Well, they were young, barely older than Konohamaru Core, and to them, Minato was the devil in human form, or that's how he was described to them, and here was his son. Of course they were going to be scared somewhat. I am more surprised about her. How had she not lashed out right now? Jiraiya asks while looking at Tsuchikage's granddaughter. Grandfather told me about the ship belonging to the Yellow Flash in his letter. Kuretsuchi said, surprising others. And you told us how ship belonged to the idiot's parents. She pointed towards Naruto, who made a shout of indignation. Another reason I was so reluctant to come out of the room, because he told me not to do what I was going to do to him, and well, she then looked at him again. He did help me while on the ship, so I owed him enough to not to beat him senselessly for his father's action. It's not good to actually blame him for someone else's action, even if he is Yellow Flash's son. She said the last part with a red hue on her cheeks, getting narrowed eyes from one blue-haired pale-eyed Hyuga. Just say that you are fond of him. Kitsuchi muttered under his breath, resulting in him getting a glare from the said girl. So he is not bad. One of the young child from Iowa, Akari said from behind Akatsuchi, not noticing Naruto's flinch. Akatsuchi on the other hand just shook his head in negative. No, he is not. The children from Iowa just nodded their head as they came from behind him. Good. Another child, a girl this time, Muko said. Because I like him. The rest of the children nodded their head at that, from other villages too. Mio on the other hand, he is my big brother. She said while she hugged his leg. Putting that conversation aside. Kazama started but was interrupted by Ino and Sakura. Wait, just wait. They yelled as they spoke up again. I've a lot of questions right now. Sakura said, but Jiraiya stopped the Konoha 12 from asking any more questions. We can leave the questions for a later time. He told the group. Right now we have other things to keep in mind, for example our living arrangements. He then looked at the man who gave him the stack of papers. Yes, I was talking about that. Kazama said while looking at the group. Before leaving for the elemental land, Minato and Kushina traveled for a long time, and as such, it resulted in the growth of Sylph Company. And as such they had a giant house with big enough backyard, you can say, in these 3 places. He brought a strange device to the Shinobis, a big tablet which lit up to show the map of the whole Pokemon nations, which was bigger than the elemental nations if they say themselves. They had one house in Hone region, one in Unova and one here in Kanto. The screen then changed to a big house. This place is in Hone, is in Little Root Town, and as you can see there is quite large backspace there. The screen then changed to a bit rural town in its previous place. This is the house in Unova in Nuvema Town. He then swiped the screen for the final place. This place is called Pala Town, here in Kanto. He then looked at the gathered group. Lord Jiraiya, along with Naruto, must stay in Kanto, that much is necessary. The rest of you can decide where you may reside before you depart for the place by the end of the week. What do you mean? Kuretsuchi, one of the younger generation, asked. A large group like yours suddenly appearing in this land will not be overlooked. Kazama told the group. Well, you will be noticed. It will be good if you live in different regions. Remaining in contact would be much easier, and the place where you are going to reside is safe from any prying eyes. He said to the group. Another question, Shikamaru said while raising his hand. You do not need to raise your hand. Alright, why does this places have such large backyard? If one would look closely, this much space is not required for house, and they've built nothing in that place. Hell, one of the place has a giant forest in the back. And it was true, all of the places had a large backyard than it was necessary. Alright, I am glad that you asked this question. Kazama said as he gave the children a grin. I am to assume that as long as you are here you would like to make livelihood, am I right? Most of them just nodded their head. And if I am right, the easiest and the best way to earn money is by becoming either a Pokemon trainer, coordinator or a performer. Pokemon trainer? Most of the group looked at the man in confusion, whereas only Karen, Mio and Naruto along with Jiraiya understood a bit of it. You mean like those big Evergrande conference where the Pokemon with human commanding them were fighting? Naruto asks and the rest turn to look at him in surprise. We were watching a tournament last night on TV, he told the rest of the group. You're correct, in a way. Kazama told the group. To become a trainer you need to have backing from a Pokemon professor or a Pokemon company like ours. He told the group. You will be provided a Pokemon from sanctioned by the league or one that you might have known or befriended, it will be your starter. To earn money you will battle other trainers or people that have Pokemon, after winning the battle you will receive money from your opponents. To participate in Pokemon League or Grand Festivals there is a whole different set of rules. The group listened to the information intently. For Pokemon League, which is just a Pokemon battle, you need to earn a set amount of badges from Pokemon gyms. For that you need to travel and capture more Pokemons. Once you have earned enough badges, for example in Kanto, you need 8 badges so that you can enter the league, and after winning the league you get to challenge the Elite Four. Who are a group's strongest trainers and after them the current champion. He then stopped as he then looked at others. For Grand Festival, it is another thing, as it is a contest where one Pokemons perform well using their attacks and moves and make it more appealing. In it there are 2 rounds, one is appeal, and then the battles. Even then your attacks must have certain appeal towards the judges. He picked a remote and then switched towards a Grand Festival match. The grace and finesse with which the Pokemon battled mesmerized the shinobi, mostly female. To enter a Grand Festival one must have a certain amount of ribbons, which can be attained as they participate in the Pokemon contest. He switched it off and turned to look at the gathered group. I can see through the expression that most of you will prefer to be a trainer. Many of the younger generation nodded their head at that. Well, it will be good for you, but I am sorry to say that the young ones, below the age of 10, cannot become a trainer. The extremely young group were downcast at the info. But you can still travel with a trainer, on condition that the trainer should be from your family. Mio on that jumped up in glee. And I can go with Big Brother. She yelled out loud. Yes, you can. Kazama said. It still doesn't answer as to why these houses have such a huge backspace. Shikamaru said. You might have heard I said that one needs to capture more Pokemon for these competitions. Shikamaru nodded his head, then looked at the backspace again before understanding dawned on him. The space is for the Pokemon that we might capture. Kazama nodded his head at that. Now we must discuss about who is going where. Kazama said as the group began discussing about the regions and where one would live. 3 days later. It's been 3-4 days since the time the shinobi from elemental nations came here. And 3 since the group had decided to discuss where they were going to live. Naruto, along with Mio, after Jiraiya had a talk with Mei, it was decided that Mio could stay with him. Karen, Shizuka and Shion and Yuki Fusakas, with Tsunade, Shizune and Taunton, were going to live in the Kanto. Apart from him the people living in Kanto were Ino and her mother, Kurenai, Hinata, Hanabi and Niji, along with AM and Shino Aburam. Tucci said that he will be going to a totally different region. He took both Kotetsu and Izuma with him and left AM in Tsunade's care. Sasuke and Sakura and Sai were going to stay here with Kakashi and Yamato. The Inyazukas were going to live here and so was Anko, Tenten, Lee and Guy. Apart from them the people from Suna, consisting of Baki, Pakura, Gaara, Tamari, Kankuro, Maki, Mitsuri and the child, Hiro, were the one that were going to live here and so was FK and Isaribi. Shikamaru and Chouji along with their mothers and Konohamaru Core and Yakumo with Asuma and Yugao would be leaving for Hone, and when he became good enough friend with Yakumo, especially after Jiraiya helped her, Niji and Gaara, by making the seal stronger in Gaara should have seen the faces of the older generation of Suna and Maki and Tamari and Kankuro when he slept for the first time. Mitsuri and Hiro commented that he looked cute as the other 3 looked at him, as if they had lost their mind and helping Yakumo with the evil spirit and locking it away from with seals. Her chakra network was better, but now she needed to get physically better. He also removed the seal that was on Niji. For some reason the 3 Hyugas cried that day. Apart from them the other people going to Hone were of Kumo, as he said he became good enough friend with Killer Bee, also known as Octopops, Yujito, Samui and Amoi. Kiri and Iwa were going to be sent to Unova. He would be extremely sad while saying goodbye to Haku and Kuretsuchi, even if the later one tends to beat on him on the simplest of things and former, well, she was a bit weird from time to time, but she was a good friend, but spending these past 3 months have brought these people much closer than he thought would ever be possible. He was right now walking on the streets of Vermilion. He was brought by Samui, who was looking around the shops. Beside him stood Gaara. He turned to look at his friend. His appearance has changed a lot recently, with him now being able to sleep because of the new seal, and Shukaku being calm because of the nature energy in the environment. Both of them were brought by the combined might of Samui, Tamari, Tenten, Mio, Hinata and Hanabi and Ino, with 3 of the 6 getting a chance to rid him of his jumpsuit, and Tamari asking Gaara to rid him of his usual clothes, and here they were with their new appearance. Gaara now wore a baggy dark maroon pants with a black half-sleeved t-shirt that had a maroon symbol of the Pokeball. He still carried his giant sand bottle thought. In his feet were now red and black sneakers, and on his arm was the symbol of Suna at the behest of Tamari. On the other hand, he now wore half-sleeved high-collared open jacket that was dark orange near the upper chest and below it black. He got the Uzumaki swirl on the back of the jacket by a local tailor in the same dark orange color. Under it he wore a white t-shirt with black Pokeball symbol. On his head was now the headband of Konoha with his green goggles hanging by his neck. He wore black-gray baggy pants and red and black sneakers, same as Gaara. He then turned to look at the girls that were shopping. Just like them, they also did the wardrobe change right now. Samui was now wearing a blue and black top with the same Pokeball symbol on the back that gave a bit of a room to her assets. Naruto was sure that she was the same age, maybe a year or 2 older than him, but even his sexy technique doesn't get what she has on her chest. She also wore black biker shorts that allow her to move in it freely. Instead of the shinobi sandals, she was now wearing black and blue sneakers. Hinata, well, she was now wearing a half-sleeved jacket hoodie that was dark blue in color and a bit baggy than the others. She was wearing similar biker shorts like Samui but of grey color. She had her headband around her neck and was wearing blue sneakers. Ino, like she was brought a purple top, it was her favorite color. Naruto understood that, but instead of like her normal top, it was a bit darker and just like others similar dark purple biker shorts and black sneakers. She had her ponytail which also had clip on it. Tamari had her usual 4 buns, but instead of her usual dress, she wore a black V-neck tank top and blue skirt and biker shorts for her to move in with dark blue sneakers. She still had her fan on her back and purple t-shirt under the black top. Tenten, she was now wearing pink half-sleeved hoodie with the Pokeball symbol in the front and back. Unlike the rest of the girls, she decided to wear black baggy pants for maneuverability and black sneakers. She her signature 2 buns on her head. As she gazed at some of the shops. Hanabi, unlike the older girl, was simply wearing a simple yellow-orange t-shirt with a dark yellow skirt. She had black and red shoes with her and black bags slung over her. Mio, just like Hanabi, got her hair in a short side pony with a red bag slung over her. She wore red top and white skirt with black biker shorts. She also wore red and orange sneakers. The girls looked at the shops for travelers looking for things that one might need while here. And Ino was looking somewhat giddy for some reason. With her now having a better fashion clothes than Sakura, she was going to rub it in her face when they got back. The real reason that all of them were here was to keep their mind of what was happening back in the elemental nations. Everyone was affected, many of them decided to mope around, some decided to study, some decided to learn more about this place. This group decided to go out. Gaara and Naruto took a seat at a bench to rest as the girls were looking around the shops. "You alright, Naruto?" Gaara asks his first friend in confusion. Naruto, on the other hand, just nodded his head. "I am fine," Naruto said with a sigh and then looked at the side where now about a large number of bags. "Do they really need that many things?" he asks Gaara while looking at the bags. Gaara, on the other hand, just shook his head. "I am not of opposite gender," Gaara said in a monotone voice. "As such, I do not know as to what goes on in the mind of the opposite sex." I know, it's just yet." Both Gaara and Naruto turned to look towards the sound and were surprised when they saw 3 kids, probably 2 years younger than them, prodding something with a stick. A sudden burst of short embers came from the ground and the kids ran away surprised from the sudden attack. Now that the obstruction was not there, the 2 watched as a fox-like creature with yellowish gold pelt tried to stand up. It had light orange fur on top of its head with 6 fluffy tails of the same color shiny Vulpix. Its paw was injured if the way that the creature tried to stand up was anything to go by. Feeling bad for the little fox, Naruto stood up and approached the fox-like creature. As he came closer, the fox noticed him approaching and sneered with its eyes and growled. "Hey," Naruto started in a soothing tone. "Don't worry, I am not going to hurt you." He placated the Pokemon in front of him. The snarling fox Pokemon had gotten a bit calm but still a bit wary. He gently placed one hand on top of its head and rubbed it, getting the sound of purr. He then gently scooped the little Pokemon in its arm and brought it near himself. He then looked at the leg that was hurt. We need to get that looked at. Gaara said from behind him. He turned to look at his friend who was there with him. I would suggest going to the Pokemon Center. A voice surprised the two as they turned to look to see a spiky-haired blonde man wearing green pants, black tank top. He had muscles and looked as if he was in an army. It's the big building with a giant red and white pokeball at the top. You can't miss it. He said once he saw the confused look on their faces. Nurse Joy are known for treating Pokemon. Ah, thank you, Naruto started but stopped. Lieutenant Surge. The man said as he looked at the blonde teen. Lieutenant Surge, thank you for the direction. With that, both Gaara and Naruto took off in the direction he was pointed in. The kid. Lieutenant Surge started. He looked somewhat familiar. He went into a pondering the thought of where he had seen the kid. He looked in the direction the kid was running and was surprised when 6 different girls, 2 younger and 4 older, joined him on his race to the Pokemon Center. At Pokemon Center, Naruto along with Gaara reached the place they were pointed in the direction they were pointed in with the Vulpix still in its hand. He approached the gate as it slid open automatically. They might have jumped in surprise, but the Vulpix Pokemon still in his hand made Naruto look directly in the front where stood a pink-haired woman in a pink nurse outfit with smile on her face. Beside her stood a pink Pokemon with stubby arms and a purple putch which hid an egg, Chansey. A few minutes later the girls entered the center. Welcome to Vermilion City Pokemon Center. The nurse started automatically. We take care of your injured Pokemon here, may I know your query? Yes, nurse, I found this Pokemon here injured. He put the Vulpix in front of her as it flinched from the pain in its leg. The nurse and the Pokemon beside her were surprised to see such a rare Pokemon. The shiny Vulpix. Nurse Joy said in surprise. Chansey. The Pokemon beside it muttered its name. The shiny what? Mio said looking at the fox. The Vulpix is a Firefox Pokemon. The nurse informed the group. But a shiny Pokemon is much rare as the natural color of a Vulpix is orange-red. The whole group nodded its head. The nurse then examined the Pokemon. This Vulpix had a minor injury on its leg, I will treat it in a moment. Are you this Vulpix's owner or is it wild? It's wild. Naruto quickly informed the easy question and the nurse nodded its head. Okay, you can wait here while I treat her injuries. The nurse informed but to her surprise the Vulpix snapped her jaws at her and began to back in Naruto's embrace. It seems the Vulpix have taken a liking to you. Nurse Joy informed Naruto with smile as the said blonde looked at the nurse in confusion. Many Pokemons take a liking to people who show them kindness and love and he took a liking to you. Naruto looked back down at the Vulpix. If it's not a problem, you can come with me as I treat her injury. Naruto just nodded his head and followed the nurse with Vulpix still clutched in his hand. After treating its injury. Naruto after having the injury treated by Nurse Joy, walked with the group with whom he came out with and as of right now every girl in the group was gushing over the little fox. She is so cute. Ino squealed while looking at the fox. The Vulpix also liked the attention somewhat, except from the noise. She was wary of strangers except for those in the group, she even allowed others to let himself pet by them, well she did shot a burst of embers from time to time. I still can't believe she liked Naruto so much, she decided to stay with him. And that was true, they returned to the ground after getting the injury treated so that Naruto could release her in the wild. But the Vulpix decided to stay with Naruto, showing it by rubbing herself on him. Why couldn't she have chosen me? She whined. Because I am awesome. Naruto responded to the girl as she stuck her tongue out for him. Right now the Vulpix was playing with Hanabi and Mio. Well, that thing aside. Samui started and looked in the direction where the 2 girls and the Pokemon was playing. How are you going to explain the sudden appearance of Pokemon with you? She asked her fellow blonde. You know. Naruto rubbed the back of his head in a sheepish expression. I haven't thought of that. Making the rest of the group bar Gaara Fasipum. A few hours later back at hotel. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Rashi, Kazama and Kakashi and Anko stood tall over Naruto as he tried his best to explain the sudden appearance of the fox Pokemon and the reason why she was receiving the attention from all the girls. So let me get this straight. Tsunade started. The lot of you were out there shopping for basic necessity that would be required here including a new wardrobe change. Naruto nodded his head at that. For which you got the money from Jiraiya, Tucci and Kazama. The 2 of the 3 present nodded their head at that. But while out there you came across this Pokemon which is rare in itself as it was injured so you took it to the hospital of Pokemon where Pokemons are treated for free. Again Naruto nodded his head. And as such you found out that the Pokemon Vulpix have taken a liking to you so you brought her back here. Again Naruto nodded. And now every female is gushing over how cute the Pokemon is. Again the blonde nodded his head. Why didn't you came to us first? Tsunade asks while rubbing her temple. Well I was, but Kiba saw me and after that Sakura saw her along with others and then that happened. Naruto said to her. I have to say brat. Anko said while looking in the direction where Kiba was approaching the shiny Vulpix. It is cute. She laughed out loudly when he got face full of embers from her when he tried to pet her. And she got attitude too, I like her. Well, it does make a part of my job easy. Kazama said as he brought out a pokeball. Why don't you ask the Vulpix if she wants to be your partner? He told the blonde as he handed him the pokeball. Naruto hesitantly took the ball and approached the Vulpix again. Hey girl. He brought the ball out in front of her as the Vulpix looked up at him curiously. I know that you like me and I wanted to ask if you would like to be my partner. The Vulpix to his surprise just happily made a barking sound and touched her forehead on the ball. She suddenly turned into fragments of light and was sucked into the ball. The ball beeped once twice before a sound of click came. Congratulations Naruto. Tucci said as he entered the hall and looked at Naruto, who was looking at the red and white ball in surprise. You just captured your first Pokemon. Nobody missed the smile that formed itself on his face. Now click the button twice to bring out your Pokemon. He did just that as Vulpix appeared in front of him and he gave her a smile as the rest of them stood in front of her with the same smile. Welcome to the family, Vulpix. 3 days later after catching the Vulpix. 3 days have passed since Naruto caught the Vulpix. During these times most of the people, mainly children, and then the time came for the group to part. Many of them burst into tears when the group was supposed to part ways, mainly children, Naruto, Kiba, Sakura and Ino along with Lee. Others were a bit better about being able to control their emotions. Aiwa and Kiri were the first to leave. They left for Unova in a big flying vehicle, an airplane it was called. Mei, Haku and Kuritsuchi gave their goodbyes as the older man talked with Jiraiya, mainly if he was going to publish his book here. The next to leave were Asuma with Yugao and Konohamaru, Shikamaru and Choji with their mothers, along with the shinobi of Kumo. All of them would be leaving for their respective places and will take a week or two to rest before they would discuss about being a trainer and a shinobi. Tsunade on the other hand decided to use Jiraiya as her personal punching bag after she found out what he had done. He put her as a pseudo-guardian of Naruto and also as a head of the Sylph Company instead of him. Jiraiya was going to be working under her. And safe to say he regretted that decision after she had him as the CFO and also as the head of PR. Now he has double work than he originally had. So short story, both of them were stuck here. Tsunade can't gamble and Jiraiya can't do anything perverted. They had to work so the ones from elemental nations could live here. Apart from the two, they also appointed Killer Bee and Mei to be work in the Sylph Company in Hoenn and Unova respectively. Which means they are also to do the paperwork while being there. Both of them cried tears of despair when Jiraiya informed the two. Now here they were all, traveling to the Pallet Town, a place where his parents stayed. They were traveling in what would be a car, an SUV, to be precise. A strange mechanical device with wheels on it and takes them from places. The Vulpix sat in Mio's lap as Jiraiya in the front. The car was being driven by Kazama himself. And other people with him were Tsunade, Shizune, Shizuka and Karen. Others were in other vehicles. Just like this. Jiraiya along with Tsunade had been talking with Kazama talking about technicalities that will be in the future. They were right now traveling through the forest that would lead to Pallet Town. Meanwhile Karen, Shizuka, Naruto, Shizune and Mio were watching out the window various Pokemon that were in the forest. There were occasional rat-like Pokemon, Rattata, sometimes a snake, Ekans, 3 different types of monkeys, Mankey, Primap and Apom, few frog-like blue-colored Pokemon with a bulb on their back, Bulbasaur, 2 types of bird-like Pokemon, Pidgey and Spearow, few bug-like Pokemon, Caterpie and Weedle, and many more. Some of the Pokemon are not of this region. Kazama said informing the children. What do you mean? Shizuka asks. You might remember when I informed you about trainers who travel different regions. They nodded their heads. Well, some of the trainers released their Pokemons that they caught in different regions and those Pokemons now are trying to adjust to the new environment. Wouldn't it affect the natural ecosystem? Shizune asks again. And Kazama nodded his head. It does. Kazama said and then looked back at them. That's where trainers come in. They can capture those Pokemons as a part of a mission. They will capture these Pokemons along with others to fill in their roosters. Kazama explained. Those Pokemons can be kept at a ranch or other places where many professors or breeders will look over the Pokemons. All of them nodded in understanding as they looked outside the window again as several of the Pokemon passed by. Ah, we are here. Kazama finally said after a while, and the people in the car looked outside to see a small town with a small river stream flowing through it. The town was surrounded by mountains and forest. There was some kind of laboratory on top of one of the hills. There was a lot of vegetation in the town. Several houses with small farm with it. All in all, it was a beautiful place. They moved through the town until they happened upon the house and its surrounding. The back was big, near endless, approaching the forest in the back. The house was big and had few other houses of the same size, but without the backyard. This is the place that you will be living in. Kazama said as he got out of the car followed by the others. This house will be for you 6. He pointed to Jiraiya, Tsunade, Shizune, Mio, Naruto and Karen. A few pace behind them the rest of the group came. He then pointed to few of the house that were on the either sides. These houses were on sale. He said, getting the others to look at him. And as such we have, by that I meant Lord Jiraiya had through Sylph, bought these houses. He informed the group, he pointed to the one that was on the right. This house will be for Shizuka, Shion, Tenten, Yuki and Anko, Ino and Sakura and Mrs. Yamanaka. He then pointed to the house on the left. The house will be for Sai, Guy, Lee, Kakashi, Sasuke and Niji. The group nodded their head at that. He then pointed to the house that was directly in front of the one with the backyard. This one is for Ms. Kurenai, AM, Hinata, Hanabi, Isaribi and FK said group nodded their head and then Kazama pointed to the house on the farther side on Naruto's. That house will be for Ms. Inyazuka, Kiba, Hana, Shino and their ninkins. It has a big backspace, well not as big as this, still big. The backspace of these houses are connected, so the ninkins will have large enough space to move about. He then pointed to the house on the right side of the one for the two Hyuga's sister. That house is for Ms. Bakura, Mitsuri, Maki and Hiro. Said group nodded their head in affirmation, taking in their new surrounding. Kazama then pointed to the house that was on the left of that. Well, that house will be for Mr. Baki and the desert siblings. Said group nodded. Kazama then clapped his hands and then led the group to the backyard. Now as all of you are ninjas, similar to Minato and Kushina, I am sure you would want to train in quiet. He then showed him the backyard, which looked as if it was recently worked on. I asked for it to be cut down, so now you can train here if you wish to, and the house has been in the care of a friend of mine. Before anyone could ask anything there was a loud squealing screeching sound of sorts. The ninjas in training jumped up in defense. Kazama on the other hand just gave a smile. Ah, they are here. Naruto, Kakashi and Jiraiya looked up in the sky where two large bird, one a bit smaller than the Other Pidgeot and Staraptor, a large draconian figure with its tail end on fire and another with two antennae on its head, followed by a blue-colored dragon and one more with large ears, Charizard, Dragonite, Salamence and Noivern, another that were flying were a raven with dark blue metallic covering, and a white-colored Pokemon with shapes on it Corviknight and Togekiss. A loud rumble came as few more Pokemon coming running through the forest. There was one yellow Mouse Pikachu and one orange that was a bit Larger Raichu, a big more round version of the monkey they saw with his hands and fist, and metallic Cuffs Primup, Sceptile and Blaziken were in the group too. A red and yellow Pokemon with cannons for arms, Magmortar, the same turtle Pokemon with cannon on its Back Blastas, and two giant frog-like Pokemon with a large flower on its Back Venusaur. Another monkey on whose head fire was coming out of Infernip and a big penguin-like Pokemon and Empoleon. There was also an elephant-like Pokemon, Donphin, and a Pokemon with a leaf atop its Heat Nuzleaf. There was a frog-like Pokemon that stood on its hind leg and had its tongue wrapped around his neck, Greninja, and a fox with a flaming tree Branch Delphox, a crocodile-like Pokemon, Krokorok, and a blue Pokemon with two clamps on its midsection, Duet, a moth-like Pokemon, Ninjask, and four different dog-like Pokemons, Arcanine, Matina, Houndoom, Stoutlet, and gold-blue Pokemon with lion-like design, Shiny Luxray, three somewhat similar yet different fox dog-like Pokemon in black. Purple and green Color Umbreon, Espeon and Leafeon, and two pink Pokemon, Clefairy and Wigglytuff. There was also another fox-like Pokemon that stood on its hind legs Orork. One Pokemon that had boxing glove in place of its ARMS Hitmonchan, and another that humanoid with brown and blue color and spike top on its HEAT Hitmontop, another humanoid Pokemon with green and white TXTURES Gallade, another that was just like the previous one but looked a bit feminine, Gardevoir. A red Pokemon that was wearing a white Karate UNIFORM throw, another bug-like Pokemon with giant HORN Heracross, and another blue alligator-like Pokemon with red SPIKES for alligator, a red bug Pokemon that resembled a LADYBUG Ladiba. There were several Pokemon in that place, but one Pokemon had all of Naruto's attention, not just Naruto, it had the attention of every shinobi from. With yellow-colored fur and red eyes standing as tall as Naruto, Ninetales with orange splashes at the tip swishing behind it in a graceful MANNER Ninetales. Its eyes were solely focused on him, making others tense, thinking that the nine-tail incarnation was trying to harm him. Naruto's Vulpix jumped out of Mio's grasp and landed in front of Naruto, growling at the Ninetales. The Ninkins also stood in front of the group in a protective manner. The Ninetales and most of the Pokemon looked at the blonde Jinchuriki. All of them except Kazama tensed as the Pokemons that had been flying suddenly landed in front of them beside the Ninetales. "Ah, your father's first Pokemon," Kurama said as if he was acknowledging something. Naruto, after learning that he needs to talk with Kurama thoughts, asked the question he wanted. "Which one?" he asks the giant being of chakra. "The one with 9 tails, or as it is known as Ninetales. What's the difference in that?" 1. Tails is the number of tails, the name with which it is known as Ninetales, TALES, Ninetales. He then paused, then looked through Naruto's eyes. "As it is said, like father like son." Kurama just snorted and laid back down. Huh, what do you mean? Naruto thought back. Kurama. Oi, Kurama, where did you go? Ah yes, the current residents and the protector of the town, along with the Pokémon from Oaks Ranch, some of your parents' Pokémon that live either here or around Oaks Ranch, with the ranch meeting the forest halfway through. Kazama said while looking at them and then turned back to look at Naruto. Led by your father's starter, the Ninetales. That's Minato's first Pokémon. Jiraiya asks while pointing at the Pokémon. Then looked at it before giving a snort making Naruto turn to look at him. Oi Iro-senin, why did you laugh? Naruto asks while pointing at him. Nothing brat. Jiraiya shot back while looking at the Ninetales. Just thinking about something ironic. You might want to observe the Ninetales carefully. Kazama said. After all your Vulpix, if you and your Pokémon wants to, will evolve into that. The statement got him wide eyes from the others while Naruto turned to look at the yellow fox in front of him. Vulpix will grow up to be that. Naruto exclaimed as he pointed at the Ninetales, and with that Jiraiya, Kakashi, Tsunade and Naruto was sure that Kurama in his head were laughing their ass off. Boy, what are you laughing at? Naruto yelled at the laughing group. Behind him Gaara, Yamato, Anko and Karen were also giggling. Oh nothing, brat. Tsunade said as she tried to control himself. Just something funny. As Naruto fumed over them laughing at him, others looked at the scene with nothing else except confusion piled on top of the questions that were forming in their heads. The laughing stopped when the Ninetales stepped forward with its face held high and gracefully approached the group, standing in front of the group. Vulpix growled and shot a burst of embers at its evolved form which the Pokémon easily brushed aside. Before Vulpix could charge at the older much experienced fox Pokémon, Naruto picked her up and held her in his grasp. So you are my father's Pokémon. Naruto more or less stated while looking at the Pokémon. Ninetales stopped as if it was contemplating what was said ignoring the growls of the Ninkins, and its pre-evolved form looked around as if looking for something. Naruto and Jiraiya understanding what the fox Pokémon was looking for, gave it a grim expression. I am sorry. Naruto said as the Ninetales looked at him. They are dead. The atmosphere became grim as Naruto's expression turned sad. They died while trying to protect me. The Ninetales for a moment looked depressed as it watched Naruto's expression turn into that of sadness. Vulpix feeling the sadness licked Naruto's arm as a sign to comfort him. The Ninetales slowly steps forward in front of Naruto and licked him gently as it began rubbing itself on him to comfort him. Naruto removing one of its arm from that was holding Vulpix embraced the Ninetales. With Vulpix in between them. Behind the Ninetales all of the Pokémon for some reason bowed their head as a sign of respect and mourning before Ninetales removed itself from him and gave loud howl and which was followed by the rest of the Pokémon as few tears began dripping from Naruto's eyes. As the sound of the Pokémon died, to Naruto's surprise, the Ninetales gave Naruto a smile and licked his tears, making him smile. Thank you. Naruto said to him with a grateful smile. After the Pokémon mourned. Soon after the silence the group was approached by the various Pokémon and the atmosphere began to change as many of the group began examining the Pokémon. Lee and Guy examined Throw, Hitmonchan and Hitmontop. Yamato along with Kakashi and Sai examined Nuzleaf and Dude. Jiraiya decided to go with Greninja and Gallade, whereas the Inyazukas along with their Ninkins began looking over the canine Pokémons. Ino, Mrs. Yamanaka and Sakura were with Clefairy, Wigglytuff. Gaara sat with Krokorok and Salamence. Whereas Sasuke and Hiro along with Kankuro looked over Infernape, Dragonite and Corviknight. Tsunade was with Gardevoir and Delphox. Isaribi and FK along with Shino were with Heracross and Ladibba with Venusaur and Feraligatr looking over the group. Shizune, Anko, Yuki, Shion, Tamari and Shizuka were surrounded by Blastoise, Charizard and another Venusaur and Donphan and Mankey and Luxray and Staraptor and Noivern. Baki and Pakura looked over Blaziken and Speddle, remembering when Jiraiya and Naruto informed them about the tournament where the two fought. Mio and Hanabi with Hinata and Kurenai were with Pikachu, Raichu, Umbreon, Espeon and Leafeon and Naruto's Vulpix as the younger three were playing with them. Most the group was now playing with the Pokémons as Naruto stood with Zoroark, Ninetales and Pidgeot, petting them. It was obvious that Naruto and Jiraiya along with the Pokémons were still a bit sad, but most of them kept it hidden. Soon Naruto was approached by both Jiraiya and Tsunade with the Pokémon that they were with following them. Kazama was back at the car, saying that few people were going to come here to meet them. You alright, Naruto? Jiraiya asks as he stood over the kid. Tsunade sat down with Gardevoir and Delphox following her. I am good, it's just Naruto trailed off. I never got to get to know them you know. He said to the two Saiyans. And here are all of them, these Pokémon who knew more about my parents and they probably won't see them again. All of them they were my parents' friend. Jiraiya just gave him a sad smile in return. I know kiddo. Jiraiya said while looking at the sky. Minato was my favorite student, nothing hurt more than when I found out that he died. He informed Naruto who following his suite looked at the sky. All of them were brought out of their musings as another bush rumbled, making all of group turn to look in that direction, and a small version of the big Venusaur stumbled out. Bulbasaur. Bulba. The Bulbasaur said and looked at the group in surprise. Hey Bulbasaur. Another voice came from the bush, a young voice. Did you find them? The Bulbasaur turned to the direction where the voice came from. Bulba. Bulbasaur said. Inside their respective seals, Kurama, Shukaku and Chimay stirred as their single eyes opened to look in the direction where the Bulbasaur shouted. Impossible. Naruto heard Kurama say, so he turned to look towards where the bush were moving. Both Gaara and FK also looked in that direction, and another Pikachu came out of that bush as he also looked at the group in surprise. Pikapi Pika. The Pikachu yelled back in the bush. What do you mean there are people with the Pokemons? The voice said again, and a new person entered the field. The figure might be a year older than Naruto. He had dark raven hair with a league hat. Auburn eyes that had same intensity as Naruto have sometimes. He also had 2 zigzag-shaped mark on his face. He was wearing a black half-sleeved jacket with half-sleeved t-shirt, blue denim jeans, and red and black sneakers. The person just raised his hand in greeting. Ah, hello. The new figure said awkwardly. An aura user actually survived. Kurama yelled. Especially from his bloodline. Whose bloodline? Naruto asks in his head. On that thought, what is an aura user? I will tell you later. Was the reply he got from the strongest Biju. Hello. Jiraiya said as he approached the kid with a smile, but still ready to see if THS kid was a danger to them. May I ask who you are and why are you here? Oh, yeah. The kid said as he turns from looking at the group to back at the man who was in front of him. My name is Ash Ketchum. I was actually supposed to look after the Pokemon. Ash said as he explained to the man. So far he is telling the truth. Jiraiya thought as he looked in the kid's eyes. He has same spirit as Naruto, but they kind of ran into the forest. Well, they usually return or stay in the forest from time to time. He then looked at the Pokemon that were there with the group. But a few moments ago there was loud roar of despair from the Pokemon, so I decided to check if they were alright. Jiraiya nodded his head, then looked at the house to which the backspace belonged to. So you guys are the new people who moved to Pallet? Ash asks him. Naruto, who was coming near them, heard the question, with his Vulpix back with him. Do you know about us? Naruto asks him. I heard my mom and Professor Oak saying that they will be moving to greet the new people in the Pallet. Ash informed him, then looked at Naruto closely. You know, you look somewhat familiar. Naruto tilted his head in confusion at that. You know me? I don't know you per se. Ash replied while looking at his face closely. I just think I've seen your kind of face somewhere before. Pika. The Pikachu, preferably of the boy in front of them. Ash and Naruto both turned to look down at the Pokemon as it suddenly changed its face to match that of a man, a familiar blonde man to Jiraiya, Kakashi and many other shinobi present there. And much to their shock, its face changed to a much more feminine look that was as much familiar to the shinobi as previous one. Before Jiraiya could make a comment about the Pikachu's ability to make faces of the 4th Hokage and his wife, Ash struck his fist in realization. Ah, now I remember. Ash said. You look like the 2 people in the photograph back in lab and in my mum's album. That brought a shocked look on both Jiraiya's and Naruto's face. You knew my parents? Naruto asks the other kid. I didn't know them. Ash said while looking at the blonde Jinchuriki, whose expression changed to downtrodden. But maybe my mom and Professor Oak may know. He quickly said. They do have picture of them. And where can we meet them? Jiraiya asks this time. Oh, they were supposed to meet you. Ash informed the 2 as his eyes then turned towards the Vulpix that was beside Naruto. A shiny Vulpix. Ash exclaimed as he bent down to look at the young fox Pokemon. Is it yours? He asked Naruto. Who just nodded his head in return. Yeah, I just caught him 3 days ago. He informed the kid. As another thing that rang in his mind. Hey, can I ask you something? Naruto asks and Ash just nodded his head. What is? Before he could complete his question, an old voice interrupted him. Ash, my boy. The elderly voice spoke up. What are you doing here? Naruto, Ash and Jiraiya turned to look at an elderly man with gray hair wearing a lab coat and a woman in a pink top and purple skirt. Mom, Professor Oak. Ash exclaimed as the Pikachu decided to perch itself on Ash's shoulder. I was taking care of the Pokemons before some of them ran here. He informed the older group. But they do that from time to time, but after a while there was a loud sound of the Pokemons, so I decided to investigate, and while doing that I came here, the new residents of Pallet. I see you did. Professor Oak said while looking at them as his eyes landed on one blonde with blue eyes and whisker mark on each cheeks. Minato. He heard the voice of the woman beside her. He turned to look at the woman, Delia Ketchum, who shook her head. He can't blame her, that face is very familiar to the 2. After all, if his hunch was right, then that kid's parents would be her best friends. Is that your name? Ash turned to look at Naruto, who shook his head in negative. No, I am Naruto. he said to the raven-haired trainer. Who are they? Ah yes. Prof. Oak spoke up at his question. Let me just introduce myself. He began and pointed to himself. I am Professor Samuel Oak, you can just refer to me as Professor Oak though, I am a Pokemon professor and researcher, I am also a mayor of this town in a way. With me is Delia Ketchum, she is what you could consider deputy mayor, in a way again, she runs an restaurant cafe in this town. We are here to help you adjust to the lifestyle here. Delia from her position gave the group a smile with a wave of her hand as the group greeted them and began introducing themselves. After the group introduced themselves, Professor Oak began to explain what he will be doing and how him and the Ketchums will be helping them. As I said, I would be helping you all by giving you a brief history about Pokemon and their types. After that I will provide all of you a starter Pokemon which is sanctioned by the league. After getting your Pokemon, it's all come down to you guys what you want to do. You can either do jobs and help Professor in their reports by catching more Pokemon, or you can compete in the Pokemon League by defeating Pokemon gyms. Or else you can become either coordinator or performer. There are other fields too, but most of them began with these two fields. Professor Oak told the group. Apart from that, Ash and Delia, alongside my assistant Tracy and my grandson Gary, will help you around by teaching you how to take care of your. He paused as the group nodded at his instructions. In the meantime, I would advise you to familiarize with the town. He said and the group nodded. You can unpack and adjust yourself, we can start from tomorrow. Professor Oak said as he went out, followed by Delia leaving the group in silence. So you guys were the one I was told about. Ash said finally. Yeah. Naruto said and then groaned. We have to go to school. Hearing that, Ino, Kankuro and Kibo also groaned. Hey, don't be like that. Ash said. But I don't like school. Ino was the one to said that as other three also nodded their head. Me neither. Ash said much to their surprise. Yeah, I don't like school either. He then looked to the path from where Professor Oak disappeared. But Prof. Oak is a good teacher and make things fun, it's one of the reasons I am much better than before at taking care of Pokemons. He then began to walk towards the same path through which Professor Oak disappeared. I will be meeting you guys tomorrow then, see you guy later. 2 months later. It's been 2 months since the shinobi began learning about the Poke Nations, and they learned a lot of things, including some of the wars and the figures that brought peace through their lands, one standing above the others. Sir Aaron. Apparently that was someone who even some of the tailed beasts respected after some sage. He also had something like aura, same thing as something that Ash has, which could calm the tailed beasts unlike the wood releaser Sharingan. They also learned more about the Pokemons and their types. There are as of right now 18 types of Pokemon. Naruto shivered when he found out about Ghost type and few other Pokemon that were Dark type but looked like Ghost type. He lost everything and fainted when he met Marshadow, Ash's ghost fighting type Pokemon. They also learned that they can either be a trainer of specific type, they would train Pokemon that falls under that category, they all just decided to be trainers without something specified, they wanted to catch more Pokemons Naruto, Sasuke, Kankuro, Tamari, Tenten, Shizuka, FK, or wanted more Friends Gaara, FK, Naruto, Lee, Ino, Hinata, others were just neutral. Some of the Jounins also decided to become trainers and go on a journey, while being teachers to some of the younger ones, or decided to travel alone. Guy and Yamato were going to be with Jiraiya for some of the things, they will be traveling, but won't be able to follow through with the schedules that will be needed for some of the trainers. Anko has made an all-girl group with Karen, FK, Isaribi, Shion, Shizuka and Yuki. Kurenai is going to be with Hinata, Hanabi, Shino and Niji. Sai, Sasuke, Sakura, Hana, Kiba and Kakashi were going to be together. Baki will be traveling with Gaara, Tamari and Kankuro, and Pakura was going along with Mitsuri, Maki and Hiro. So all that were left behind were Naruto, Tenten, Ino, Mio and Lee. Tsunade, Inoka, Tsum, Am, Shizune and Jiraiya were going to be working with the Sylph Company, so them traveling with 5 was difficult. All that left was choosing their starters, which went like this. The whole group stood in the ranch. With the youngest ones playing with the baby Pokemons. Professor Oak stood in front of the group with his grandson, a person that Naruto dislikes because of his attitude, Gary Oak. Beside him was the green-haired assistant of Professor Oak, Tracy Sketchet. Him and Sai hit of instantly for their love of drawing. With him stood the familiar figure of Delia Ketchum with her aide, Mr. Mime and Son and his partner, Ash Ketchum and Pikachu. Naruto did look from side to side to make sure that Marshadow wasn't around there. He had an unholy amount of fear of the ghost types, many of the group did take it upon themselves to help him with that. So now that you've learned most of the things that you will need, Professor Oak stated, it's time I provide you all with your starter Pokemon, except for those below the age of 10. Hiro, Hanabi and Mio pouted when they heard that. Apart from that, only Naruto would not receive a Pokemon, as he already has a Pokemon who could be considered as a starter Pokemon. Well, I am sorry for this, but today only few of you are going to receive a starter as I am yet to receive Pokemon from the league, so some of you have to remain patient. At this everyone looked at one another not knowing who will be receiving the Pokemon. So the people that would be getting a Pokemon are Sakura, Sai, Sasuke, Kakashi, Hana, Tsume, Kiba, Am, Inoka and Shizune. Others whose name were not told groaned at the declaration but stood aside nonetheless. I know it's not fair, but for now these will be receiving the Pokemon. Professor Oak said as Tracy brought out 10 Pokeballs. These are the Pokeballs, which contains the Pokemon. One of the Pokemon is going to be your starter, a Pokemon who is going to be the most. A starter Pokemon is someone who is also your best friend. Sometimes the bond you make with your starter Pokemon is said to be the strongest bond in the world, like a brother or sister. So when you make a choice I want you to choose carefully, because your starter Pokemon will represent you. Professor Oak said. Now then let's call you guys. The first person to receive the Pokemon is Sakura Haruno. Sakura stepped forward. In one of these Pokeball is your starter. Now let me tell you which of these have which Pokemon. He pointed to the first Pokeball that had a symbol of leaf. This Pokeball contains a Bulbasaur, a poison grass type Pokemon. Sakura nodded and Oak pointed to the next one that had the symbol of fire. This Pokeball has Charmander, a fire type Pokemon. He then pointed to the one that had a symbol of water drop. This Pokeball has a Squirtle, a water type. These are the original starters. He then moved over to the 3 other Pokeballs. I got these from the professor in Sinnoh region. He pointed to the first Pokeball that has the same leaf design with yellow ribbon on it. This Pokeball has Turtwig, a grass-type Pokemon common in Sinnoh. He informed the group. Then went to the next Pokeball which are the same design except the symbol of Fireball. This Pokemon is another starter Pokemon from Sinnoh, known as Chimchar. He then went to the last Pokeball which are the symbol of water. And this Pokeball consists of another starter Pokemon from the region, a Piplup, which is a water-type Pokemon. He then looked at the child in front of him who looked a bit thoughtful. Do you wish to choose from one of these? Sakura looked at the professor then back at the current 6 Pokemon that were explained to her and her eyes flew towards the Sinnoh Pokeball, then back to the Kanto ones. I've decided. Sakura started as she reached for the Kanto starters and picked up the Kanto Leaf starter Pokeball. I am going with Bulbasaur. She exclaimed as she held the Pokeball. She quickly brought the grass type out of its Pokeball. As the light receded, a small green Pokemon with a bulb on its back remained with curious eyes, looking at its new trainer. Bull? The Bulbasaur stated as it looked over at the Pokemon. Hey Bulbasaur. Sakura gently petted her started. The Bulbasaur feeling the pet made purring sound before it was picked up by the trainer. Alright then, next is Sasuke. The Uchiha stepped forward. As you've already heard which contains which Pokemon, I don't suppose you are going to have problem. The Uchiha just nodded his head and moved towards the Sinnoh starters and picked up the Pokeball with fire symbol. I see you've already decided your starter. Sasuke nodded his head and looked at the Pokeball before throwing it up in the sky. Come on out Chimchar. An orange monkey with flame for tail materialized. The Pokemon had a cocky smirk on its face as it blew embers towards the sky. Jim. The monkey stood with its head held high. You are strong. Sasuke said and the monkey just gave a smirk. But we are going to make both you and me more stronger than we are now. At first the monkey looked surprised at the word but it converted into a grin and just gave Sasuke a thumbs up. Chimchar. Sasuke put his Pokemon back in the Pokeball. Next is Sai. And the child stepped up. Have you decided your Pokemon? Sai just gave a nod of acknowledgement and he gently picked up the blue water type of Kanto. I choose Squirtle as my starter. Sai spoke quietly as he let out the shell Pokemon from its ball, petting it gently. Very well then. Professor Oak said as he asked Kiba to step forward. I already decided the Pokemon I want. Kiba boisterously spoke as he picked the Kanto starter Pokemon with fire symbol. Charmander, come on out. A small reddish-orange Pokemon with fire at the end of its tail came out. He began petting the Pokemon with his hand. Next is Am. Professor Oak said. Am stepped forward and looked between the 2 last Pokeballs. I will go with Turtwig. She finally said and chose the Pokeball and let out the grass type and began rubbing its heads. Then we have Shizune. Professor Oak stated as said woman stepped forward to pick her Pokemon, which would be the last Sinnoh starter. Yes, I will choose Piplup then. Shizune threw the Pokeball out of which a small blue water-type penguin emerged and grabbed it in her arms. Now that the normal starters are gone there are these Pokemon that I especially choose for few of you. Professor Oak said as he looked at the remaining 4 Pokeballs and then turned to look at the remaining people. These are what you would call problem Pokemons and I believe that you 4 will be able to work with these Pokemon. He picked up the first Pokeball. Kakashi Haddock, if you will. He handed Kakashi a Pokeball. The Pokemon that I am giving you is an Elekid, an electric-type Pokemon with some. Professor Oak paused while he tried to explain about the Pokemon. Issues if you will, it wants to get a strong trainer and because of that he also attacked other trainers for that sometimes leaving them in a bad condition. I hope that you will be able to tame the Pokemon. Kakashi looked at the Pokeball and then back at Professor Oak, giving him a deadpan look. Go ahead, you can release your Pokemon now. He said as he along with several other people decided to move away from him. Come on out. Kakashi said blandly as he threw the Pokeball in the air and a small human-sized yellow Pokemon with black stripes appeared a little bigger than Mio or Hanabi, but very small. It had 2 horns in the shape of the plugs with holes in it and 3 claws-like fingers on each arm. Elekid, the Pokemon at first looked around noticing the large group before his gaze settled on the man with the mask in front of him. Hello Elekid, I am supposed to be your new Kakashi dodged a yellow fist that was covered in electricity before he could complete his sentence. So that's what Professor meant by problem Pokemon. Kakashi mumbled before he turned back his gaze on the Pokemon. Look Elekid, I know he dodged another fist, but this time the fist was covered in fire instead of electricity. I thought it was an electric type. Kakashi thought in shock. Well, what do you know? From the side he heard Professor Oak speak up in surprise. That Elekid knows Fire Punch. This went on for a few more moments where Elekid will attack him attacks as he kept on dodging them. I think it's enough. Kakashi said as he glared at the small Pokemon. Elekid stood his ground in defiance, but before it could do anything Kakashi was in front of him in extreme speeds, making him jump back and gave him a creepy eye smile. I don't know what your problem is, Kakashi said he took in his old Anbu captain persona. But you are now my subordinate, you will do as I say, you will hear my command and will not lash out, is that understood? He finished with a glare that spooked the little Pokemon as he averted his eyes and nodded his head. Good to know that you understand. Kakashi said as he used the Pokeball to call back the said Pokemon and sighed as he looked at it. I need to work on him. That's the reason I gave you that Pokeball. Professor Oak said as he strode towards him. Now then Mrs. Yamanaka. He picked another Pokeball that was there. This Pokemon is for you. He handed her a Pokeball. This Pokemon is a Ralts, but unlike other Pokemon, like the Elekid, this Pokemon would need for you to work on it as it is a very shy Pokemon. By shy you mean? Inoka asks him. There are high chances that it would be afraid of you. He told her and then looked around. So I would advise you to release it in a place that does not have a large crowd, it might not respond in a good manner. Can you guys give her some space? He called out to the others. As Inoka began to release her new Pokemon. Come on out Ralts. Inoka called as she threw the Pokemon. A small bipedal green-white Pokemon appeared in front of her. Many of the girls would have squealed if not for the fact that the Pokemon suddenly went rigid as it looked at her. Hey, don't worry. The Yamanaka matriarch said as she soothed the young Pokemon. I am not going to harm you. She placated the Pokemon as she reached out to the Pokemon with her arm. Ralts, seeing the woman would not harm her, gently nudged its head into her outstretched arms where she began rubbing the Pokemon gently. Inoka just smiled, but before anybody could say anything a loud squeal was heard which scared the Ralts as it quickly let itself be sucked into the Pokeball. Inoka looked surprised when Ralts suddenly went back inside its Pokeball and then turned to look at the source of the squeal which was her own daughter. Sorry. Ino said sheepishly as she rubbed the back of her neck. Well, the Ralts trust her, so that's a good thing, just need to be a bit more confident. Professor Oak told Inoka as she nodded her head. Now for Inyazuka. He said as he picked up another Pokeball. You can become a very good Pokemon doctor or a breeder, and keeping in mind that I especially asked for this Pokemon. He handed her the Pokeball. Then this Pokeball is a Lillipup which would later evolve to Stoutlet. They are known for keeping discipline and are used by farmers and other Pokemon ranches to keep other Pokemon in check. Tsume nodded her head at that and threw the Pokeball in the air. Come on out, Lillipup. A small brown canine became visible as the light subsided. Tsume was happy to see that her starter was a canine Pokemon. Even if she had Kuromeru, she needs to have a Pokemon here and was happy to know that she got a canine Pokemon. She began petting the little Pokemon as Professor turned his attention to the last person in the group. Now for Ms. Hana. He picked up the final Pokeball. In many ways you are similar to your mother, and because of that I know that you need a partner who is loyal and will stay with you and help you move forward. For that I asked for this Pokemon to be given to you. He gave her the Pokeball which contains her starter. This Pokeball has Growlithe, the fire-type Pokemon. I think that this Pokemon would suit you the most. Hana looked at the Pokeball before she threw it in the air. I choose you, Growlithe. Hana said as a small canine Pokemon with red fur and black stripes appeared in front of her. You and me are going to be a great team. Hana said as he rubbed the Pokemon gently, making him bark in satisfaction. Not a few feet away from them, Kiba was mumbling about not getting a canine for his Pokemon. Now that it's done, let's get on to next few things. But that professor gave the group with their starters a Pokédex. An identification card if you will, which also works as guide for Pokemon, giving you a basic information and a number, also acting as your wallet. Kakashi, Sai, Sakura, Sasuke, Kiba and Hana ended up leaving together for their journey after a week. But after that others left for their journey after getting their starter Pokémon. Am, Shizune, Inoka and Tsume were few of the people who wouldn't be traveling, along with Jiraiya, Tsunade, Guy and Yamato would be staying back in Pallet Town and working. Others also got their starters with Anko, who just went into the ranch and asked the professor if he had any snake-like Pokémons which could be used as a starter, which was answers by the professor making a call in Hoenn and getting her a snake Pokémon that had two large red fangs, a purple body and a giant bladed tail at the end. Seviper. Karen and Hinata somehow ended up with AV, Isaribi got a Squirtle, Shizuka ended up with a Cyndaquil, and FK got herself a Venomoth. Xion got Chikorita, and Yuki got the Totodile. For Kurenai, just like Anko, she got another Pokémon as a starter, a Sneasel to be precise, just like Seviper and Elekid, a problem Pokémon, but not on Elekid's scale, where the kid Pokémon attacks Kakashi at a moment notice. At last it finally considered Kakashi as his trainer. Sneasel would need some work. Niji ended up with Torchic, Shino got hold of Mudkip, and Yamato chose Trico as his starter. The all-girl group left 2 weeks after getting their starter Pokémon, whereas Kurenai's group left a week after the all-girl group. Now after them to leave was the Suna group. Asgaru got himself a dark-type version of Zigzagoon, apparently they were common in Galar region. Tamari got a Charmander, Kankuro on the other hand got a Squirtle, Mitsuri got Bulbasaur. Maki was another one who did not get a regular starter by choosing a Houndour, another dog-type Pokémon. Hero was still young, which left only Baki and Pukura, who like other Jounins, got special problem Pokémon. Baki got a Larvitar, a Pokémon commonly found in Johto, whereas Pukura got a Dratini, a rare Pokémon, a pseudo-legendary if what was told right. They left after Kurenai's group. Now Guy was one of the last person to get a Pokémon, he was another person out of the 3 who got a Dragon-type Pokémon. His Pokémon was Jangmo, a small grey Pokémon walking on all 4. The last person to get a Dragon-type was Jiraiya. Professor Oak gave him a Gible, which was a Pokémon famous in Sinnoh. It was dual-type Pokémon at that. Tsunade got a Swablu, a small flying-type Pokémon, but instead of its usual blue color was golden in color. She got a shiny Swablu as her starter. Which only left with Lee, Tenten and Aini for getting a starter Pokémon. Which went something like this. Now you 3 are the only ones left for a starter Pokémon. Professor Oak said as he looked at the group. Well, I am unable to provide you guys with a normal starter. His words got the 3 Genins to groan. I was able to get hold of 3 Pokémons that are sanctioned by the league but are still not a regular starter, and like some of you've gotten a non-regular starter. He informed. He then motioned for Tracy to step forward, who came in with 3 Pokeball. Now I've 3 Pokémon especially for the 3 of you. He said and called Lee first. For you I have Krogunk, a fighting poison type Pokémon, take care of him. Lee enthusiastically bowed to the man who just gave chuckle at his response and took the Pokeball. He called the Pokémon out. Come on out, Krogunk. In the flash of light now stood a bipedal Pokémon with toad-like face, 2 orange pouches on its face, and his midsection looked like it was wrapped in bandages. From now on you and I will have a youthful journey with our friends that will show the power of our youth. Rock Lee said with fire in his eyes as Krogunk just tilted his head in confusion. Crow. Behind them Professor Oak, Naruto who was there with Mio to pass the time, Tenten and Ino sweat dropped. Well, since Lee is busy with his new starter, let's head forward. He picked up another Pokeball and moved towards Ino. I got this Pokémon from my cousin in Alola, he was working on few things and decided to provide me with this Pokémon that he had. Ino took the Pokeball from him as she threw it in the air. As the light dissipated, a familiar at the same time very different Pokémon stood in front of them. It had 6 fluffy tail, a puff on top of its head. It was a Vulpix, but unlike the normal Vulpix they knew like Naruto's, apart from the fact that it was shiny, this Pokémon was white in color. It is a Vulpix. Ino stated as she crouched on the ground in front of it and gently petted the Pokémon. You're correct. Professor Oak said. But unlike other Vulpix which are common in this region, this Vulpix is from Alola region, where the Vulpix is ice type instead of fire type, so that they could survive, you could call it Alolan form. It's so cute. Ino said after hearing what the professor said and picking up the Pokémon. You and I are going to show who is the best to forehead. With that Ino was also lost to her thoughts. Now for Tenten. Professor Oak said as he picked the final Pokeball. This is going to be your starter Pokémon. Tenten took the Pokeball from him and like Ino threw it in the air, a small bipedal Pokémon with beetle-like body, red arms with knife-like hands, a round head with an axe-like blade in the front. It's a Pawniard. Prof. Oak told her. It's a dual type, steel dark type. Wow. Tenten said as she began to look over the Pokémon. Look at the blades on him. Tenten said as she began to examine her starter who was flaunting his blades in front of her. The rest of the day was spent by the 3 bonding with their starters. Naruto meanwhile spent his time with Jiraiya who was training him. They were provided Pokédex by the professor who gave them a brief lecture about Pokémon journey. Ash left a few days ago on his journey to Hoenn, with a friend of his leaving behind all of his Pokémons. Meanwhile the other three were being taught by their teachers. With Guy teaching Tenten and Rock Lee and Anoka teaching her daughter, which was sometimes taken over by Shizune and Tsum. And with that a week passed since they got their starters. So it's time. Jiraiya said as he looked at the little group consisting of Naruto, Mio, Tenten, Rock Lee and Ino. Behind him stood Professor Oak, Tracy, Delia Ketchum, AM, Tsunade, Shizune, Tsum, Guy, Inoka and Yamato. We have taught you as much as we can. Jiraiya said for all of them. Professor Oak and others have helped you with your knowledge of this place. Whereas I along with the others have taught you how to survive out there, I am unable to go with you because of some reason that we are stuck doing those jobs, but I know that you will be safe while you are on your journey. It will be tough as it will be the first time you will be on a journey on your own, but all of you are strong and I hope you will all use our teaching while you are out there. The group of 5 nodded their heads. Also remember to give a call when you reach the nearest city or town. The 5 nodded their heads again. He then looked back at his group. Would like to say anything? Yes. Inoka said as she turns to look at her daughter. Ino, dear, she started. Have you packed all of your necessities? I did, Mom. Ino groaned as she said that. For the umpteenth time I did. Just making sure, dear. Inoka said. Well then. Jiraiya spoke up again. Looks like it's goodbye for now. Aye, pervy sage. Naruto spoke up. Next time you see me it will be with me kicking your ass. Naruto said to the Sannin. Yeah, I will wait for that day, brat. Jiraiya said back to them. I will see you guys later. The group said goodbye as they moved towards the forest, marking the beginning of their journey. What if Naruto has ghost type Pokémon? End here and thanks for watching my video till the end.